Tahitian Noni Juice. How much, how often, for what? Direct Source Publishing. 15 East 400 South. Orem, Utah 84058. All rights reserved. Copyright 2000, 2000 and TO by Neil Solomon, MD, PhD. Tahitian Noni Juice is a registered trademark of Morinda, Inc. No part of this book may be reproduced or transmitted in any form or by any means, electronic or mechanical, including photocopying, recording, or by any information storage and retrieval system, without permission in writing from the publisher. For questions or comments concerning noni use directed to the author, please send correspondence to the above address. No information contained here is meant to replace the advice of your doctor or healthcare practitioner. The data and opinions appearing in this book are for informational purposes only. Dr. Neil Solomon does not offer medical advice, and he encourages readers to seek advice from qualified health professionals. ISBN 1-88793890-7. I dedicate this book to the love of my life, my dear wife, Freema, who makes me very happy. To our 3 special sons and their wives, Ted and Esther, Scott and Florita, and Cliff and Bernadette. And to our precious grandchildren, Scott, Jacob, Bayard, Tessa Grace, and Isabella Rose. I believe that ounce for ounce Tahitian Noni Juice is the most potent healing food on the planet. Dr. Samuel Kolodny. Tahitian Noni Juice is a miracle from paradise that the whole world needs to hear about. Floyd Holdman. Tahitian Noni Juice has made a tremendous impact on my life. Many thanks to you, Dr. Solomon, for helping all of the thousands of people you haven't even met. Denise Marta. Tahitian Noni Juice has given me the opportunity to offer my patients conventional medicine as well as a holistic approach. The results have been absolutely amazing and, at times, a miracle. Dr. Orlando Pyle Internist. The fascinating story of how this ancient herbal drug can alleviate or even cure certain medical problems is a story that ideally should be told by a medical doctor who has advanced training in biochemistry and who has the writing skills to make a complicated story intelligible and interesting. Dr. Neil Solomon is this ideal person. Ralph Heinecker, Ph.D. Discoverer of the zeronine system. Former Director of Basic Research at Dole, Inc. About the author. Since the 1950s, Neil Solomon, MD, has devoted his life to the study and practice of medicine. In 1961 he graduated with honors from Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland, Ohio, with a medical degree MD and a Master of Science degree in Integrated Biological Sciences. Later he did his clinical training on the celebrated Osler Medical Service at the Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore, Maryland. At the Johns Hopkins Medical Institution, he won the coveted Schwenker Award for Excellence in Research and was a member of the faculty. While on the Johns Hopkins Medical School faculty, Dr. Solomon spent 2 years with the National Institutes of Health conducting research in the fields of nutrition, physiology, medicine, gerontology, endocrinology, and heart disease. It was during this time that Dr. Solomon received his doctorate in physiology, with minors in biochemistry and biophysics from the University of Maryland School of Medicine. For a decade 1969–1979, Dr. Solomon served as the first Secretary of Health and Mental Hygiene in Maryland. Dr. Solomon is retired from the practice of medicine. He is a consultant to international corporations and to NGOs of the United Nations. Dr. Solomon has also published several books, and is a New York Times best-selling author. In addition, he has enjoyed being a radio and television talk show host, the first health commentator on CNN TV, and a medical columnist for the Los Angeles Times Syndicate for over 18 years. His interest in preventative medicine and natural healing has motivated him to write many other works about Morinda citrifolia besides this one. Dr. Solomon's other educational information on noni include Noni Juice, the tropical fruit with 101 medical uses, 2nd edition. Dr. Solomon's collection of noni testimonials. The Noni Phenomenon. The Tahitian NONP Juice Smart Extracts Series. Travel Made Easy with Tahitian NONP Juice. The Pain Fighter, Tahitian NONP Juice. These books are available from Direct Source Publishing by calling 1-800-748-2996 or visiting. Acknowledgements. As I recall the many people who in some way contributed to this book, there are simply too many to recognize in this limited space. However, there are a select few who provided me with valuable knowledge and assistance in bringing this book to its completion. I want to especially thank Lois Brown for her expertise in research and editing. In addition, I want to thank the following health professionals for sharing their knowledge of noni with me. They include Alan Bailey, Bryant Bloss, MD, Dr. Cliff Blumberg, Richard T. Dix, William Dole, D.O., Dr. Aichi Furusawa, Dr. Charles Garnier, Scott Gerson, MD, Stephen Hall, MD, Mona Harrison, MD, Dr. Ralph Heinecker, Dr. Tomo Hiramatsu, Dr. Ann Hirazumi Kim, Dr. Samuel Kolodny, Haruhiko Kugo, MD, Peter Lodwich, MD, Dr. Jim Marku, Dr. W. T. Meyer, John Mike, MD, Susan Mike, MD, Dr. Joel Murphy, Richard Passwater, Ph.D., Orlando Pyle, MD, Dr. Nathan Rabb, Dr. Nelson T. Rivers, Larry Scott, Keith Sennett, MD, Dr. Rick T. Smith, Gary Tran, DVM, Dr. Thomas Veloff, and Mian Ying Wong, MD. This book would never have seen the light of day if it hadn't been for the following visionaries who introduced Tahitian noni juice to the world: John Wadsworth, Stephen Story, Kerry Azzi, Kim Azzi, and Kelly Olson. Next, I wish to thank Floyd and Ann Holdman, Drew White, Gary and Ann Wilson, Del and Sylvia Williams, Mark and Joe Rose, and Ken and Mary Rowland for their perspective and genealogical help. Additionally, there are those who provided me with and/or helped me obtain many of the outstanding testimonials, some used in the book. These include Doug Alcorn, Lynn and Kathleen Ashcraft, Kevin and Jenny Bardsgard, John and Laurie Bentley, Cliff Blumberg, Bob and Della Burke, Carlton and Joycey Braithwaite, Dave and Paula Castle, Angela and Laurie Chang, E.J. Mackey and Shulin Chong, Yalan Lin Chang, Richard Cooper, Trudy Crow, Buddy Delaney, Dylan, John Dover, Ed from Ontario, Canada, Robert Fetchner. Drive. Brent Frame, Gail from Ontario, Canada, Deborah Gear, Glad Grand International People, Stephen Deborah Gray, David Johnson, Lil Johnson, Gwen Keiss, Marie Menner and Jack Kelly, Jeanette Comsey, Susie and Caleb Kwok, Kathleen Gambino Lab. Harold and Jessen Leder, Ivy Way Lee, Sherry and Zachary Lips, Francis Lowe, Jonelle Mailing, Tom Matthews, Paul Miller, Anne Moran, Faye Nichols Holt, Ann Olifson, Chuck and Carol Parker, Paul and Margaret Pierce, Dan Ritchie, Joanne Ritter, Helen Rivers, Karen Ronicki, Sal and Joan Sirio, Michael Sossin, Tom and Manny Thornton, Michelle Titus, Katrina Tran, Rob and Janine Whitty, Wen-Chi Wu, and Jolene Ziegler. I could not have obtained international testimonials had it not been for the guidance which I received from Sun Fu Chong, Cody Day, Lennart Engstrom, Daryl Iremia, Karsten Marks, Seth Miller, Joseph Morton, Craig Richards, Phil Sykes, Edward Tuirau, Bryant Wadsworth, David Wadsworth, Kenny Wan, Sean Whitney, and Peter Wilden. I owe many thanks to Jarek A. Jensen for sharing his expert scientific and research knowledge about noni, to Doug McAllister for his professional marketing input, to Pamela Beckham, for her gracious willingness to provide whatever assistance was asked of her, to Tom Black, Ben Tyler, Joel Nielsen, Aaron Garrity, Heather Madison, Brett West, Suzanne Tyler, Blaine Hawkes, and Harry Finkelstein for their input and assistance in numerous matters, to Noni Blues singers Tommy Lyons, Mel Steeple, and Gary Roma for their inspirational songs about noni, to Parviz Shaviri for electronic advice, to Colby Allen, McKinley Oswald, and Mac Oswald for their continued confidence and input into the project, to Freema Solomon, MMH, my agent and editor who also helped in so many ways. I express my gratitude to Ken Duma, Nancy J. Fleming, Evelyn Critt, Chuck Layton, Priscilla Martinez, Tom Abd, Adrian Matthews, Mindy Preston, Neil Reinhardt, Tom Corbett and Alina Rosiak, Priscilla Salazar, Gloria Shanley, Jack and Stella Shelburne, Amy Soratham, A. Warren and Laurel Tursky, John R. Wadsworth, Merlin and Bonnie Weeks and Camry for helping me better appreciate the value of noni. Of course, This book would be incomplete without the feedback from over 200 health professionals representing over 20,000 individuals who were willing to share their accounts of how Tahitian noni juice brought about a positive effect in their health and well-being. Again, I give many thanks to all those who contributed. Amazing noni juice. During my over 30 years as a practicing medical professional, prescribing medication was relatively easy. Once the proper diagnosis was made, prescribing simply meant taking into consideration the different characteristics of the patient, i.e. severity of illness, gender, weight, age, allergies, etc. and putting it in my mind's computer. Presto, the amount of medication was clear. Since my retirement from the clinical practice of medicine, I have become more involved with natural healing. This has brought to my attention the ambiguity and confusion that exists when it comes to how much of a certain nutritional substance could or should be used in order to augment one's health. Suggested use of many nutritional supplements is many times based on trial and error, which over time and use somewhat regulates itself. I decided to find a plant with a proven track record of successes and with unique health benefits worthy of study. I was interested in finding out how much of it people took to help different conditions. This led me to the fruit of the Morinda citrifolia plant noni. I soon found the people of the islands of the South Pacific had used noni to promote healthy living for over 2,000 years. Noni flourishes in the lush and unspoiled islands of French Polynesia, of which the best known is Tahiti. On this tropical island, noni fruit is used to make Tahitian noni juice. I spoke to the natives who harvest noni and who have long benefited from its use. I believe that for optimal effectiveness, noni juice should have the following characteristics: grown in a pollution-free, unspoiled tropical environment, harvested by natives who, from tradition, know when and how to pick it, and to be freshly processed and packaged under careful supervision in a way so as not to destroy its natural beneficial ingredients. The noni product should contain no less than 90% pure, unadulterated noni juice, with each ounce containing between 5 to 15 calories, 2 to 4 grams of total carbohydrates, and no added additives. The noni should also be tested to be contaminant-free. Please see Table 1 for a complete listing of all nutraceuticals identified in noni. Table 1. Nutraceuticals identified in noni. 1 butanol campsterol palmitate. 1 hexanol campsterol palmityl glycoside. 1 methoxy-2-FORMYL-3 hydroxycampsterol. Anthraquinone carbonate. 2. 5-UNDECADIEN-1 L-carotene. 2 heptan 1 cycloatenol. 2 methyl-2 butanoyl decanoate cycloatenol linolete. 2 methyl-2 butanoyl hexanoate cycloatenol palmitate. 2 methyl-3, 5, 6 trihydroxyanthraquinone 6 section damnicanthal. Primvericide decanoic acid. 2 methyl-3, 5, 6 trihydroxyanthraquinones aladic acid. 2 methylbutanoic acid ethyl decanoate. 2 methylpropanoic acid ethyl hexanoate. 24 methylcycloatenol ethyl octanoate. 24 methylene cholesterol ethyl palmitate. 24 methylene cycloatanol linolete eugenol. 3 hydroxyl-2 butazone ferric iron. 3 hydroxymorindone gampsterol linolete. 3 hydroxymorindone 6 section primvericide glucose. 3 methyl-2 buten 1 all-glycosides. 3 methyl-3 buten all heptanoic acid. 3 methylthiopropanoic acid hexadecane. 5, 6 dihydroxylucidin hexaamide. 5, 6 dihydroxylucidin 3 section primvericide hexanedioic acid. 5, 7 acacetin 7 OSD plus glucopyranoside hexanoic acid. 5, 7 dimethylapigenin 40 OSDD plus gallic hexose. Topiranoside hexyl hexanoate. 6, 8 dimethoxy 3 methylanthraquinone 1, iron. Os-rhamnosyl isobutyric acid. Glucopyranoside isocaproic acid. 6 dodecanoic Y-lactone isofucosterol. 7-hydroxy-8-methoxy-2-methyl-isofucosterol linolete. Anthraquinone isovaleric acid. 8,11,14 icosapentaenoic acid lauric acid. Acetic acid limonene. Alizarin linoleic acid. Alkaloids lucidum. Anthragallyl 1,2-dimethyl ether LUCIDUM 3-section primeviricide. Anthraquinones magnesium. Anthragallyl 2,3-dimethyl ether methyl 3-methylthiopropanoate. Asparyloside methyl decanoate. Benzoic acid methyl alidate. Benzyl alcohol methyl hexanoate. Butanoic acid methyl octanoate. Calcium methyl olate. Campsteryl glycoside methyl palmitate. Campsteryl linoleic glycoside MORENONE1. MORENONE2 resins. Morindadiol rhamnose. Morindanigreen ricinoleic acid. Morindan rubiadin. Morindone RUBIADIN 1-methyl ether. MORINDONE 6-section primeviricide scopoletin. Mucilaginous matter cetosterol. Myristic acid cetosterol glycoside. N-butyric acid cetosterol linolete. N-valeric acid cetosterol linolyl glycoside. Nonanoic acid cetosterol palmitate. Nordamnicanthal cetosterol palmityl glycoside. Octadecanoic acid sodium. Octanoic acid saurangidyl. Oleic acid section cetosterol. Palmitic acid stearic acid. Paraffin sterols. Pectin stigmasterol. Pentose stigmasterol glycoside. Phenolic body stigmasterol linolete. Phosphate stigmasterol linolyl glycoside. Fission stigmasterol palmitate. PHYSCION 8-0 L-arabinopyranosal 1-3 section stigmasterol palmityl glycoside. DGD-galactopyranosal 1-penoids. 6 section D-galactopyranoside trioxymethylanthraquinone. Potassium undecenoic acid. Protein ursolic acid. Proxaronine-zeronine. Proxaronines. Taken with permission from Dr. Hirazumi's work and modified by author. In the next chart, Table 2, you will find listed pertinent nutritional information specifically about Tahitian noni juice. Table 2, Tahitian noni juice nutritional information ingredients. About 90% reconstituted Morinda citrifolia fruit juice from pure juice puree from French Polynesia. About 10% pure natural and blueberry juice concentrate, balance blended with pure, natural flavors. Vitamin and mineral content for 1 serving 1 fluid ounce. Nutrient. Vitamin A amount 5, 88 U% RDA 0, 117%. Vitamin C amount 6029 mg% RDA 10%. Calcium amount 6, 76 mg% RDA 0, 67%. Iron amount 0, 1088 mg% RDA 0, 6%. Vitamin E amount 0, 235 U% RDA 0, 78%. Vitamin B1 amount 0, 0029 mg% RDA 0, 196%. Vitamin B2 amount 0, 0029 mg% RDA 0, 17%. Niacin amount 0, 147 mg% RDA 0, 735%. Vitamin B6 amount 0, 038 mg% RDA 191%. Folic acid amount 7, 35 mcg% RDA 1, 84%. Vitamin B12 amount 0, 097 mcg% RDA 1, 62%. Biotin amount 1, 47 mcg% RDA 0, 49%. Pantothenic acid amount 0, 147 mcg% RDA 1, 47%. Phosphorus amount 2058 mg% RDA 0, 205%. Magnesium amount 3088 mg% RDA 0, 772%. Zinc amount 0, 047 mg% RDA 0, 313%. Copper amount 0, 006 mg% RDA 0, 249%. Other minerals. Chromium crossing amount 0.147 mg. Mangan Mn amount 0.25 mg. Molybdenum amount 0.294 mg. Sodium Na amount 12.35 mg. Potassium K amount 28.52 mg. Carbohydrate content for 1 serving 1 fluid ounce. Carbohydrate. Fructose amount 1.2 grams. Glucose amount 1.1 grams. Fiber amount 0.7 grams. There is essentially no fat or protein in Tahitian noni juice. Less than 2% of the RDA is not a significant source for this vitamin or mineral, so you don't have to worry about overdose. Used with permission from Morinda, Inc. The noni phenomenon. Before delving into each of the specific health conditions for which people benefit from using noni, I want to quickly summarize how I believe noni is able to help so many people with so many different health problems. While the working theory I am about to present does not cover the only reason noni is such an effective natural health supplement, I believe it does help explain why this ancient fruit is able to improve the of so many symptoms varied health problems. One of the theories used to explain noni's health effects revolves around one of its putative main components, proxyrenine. It is believed that once in the body, proxyrenine travels to specific parts of cells, such as the mitochondria, microsomes, Golgi apparatus, reticuloendothelium, electron transport system, DNA, RNA, and etc. Within the cell, these components communicate with each other intracellular and with other cells intercellular. It was established by Dr. Anne Hirazumi that noni augments the release of high amounts of nitric oxide from immune cells. I coupled her work with the work from the 1998 Nobel Prize winners in medicine Hua Drs. Robert Fouchgot, Farid Murad, and Louis Ganot. These scientists demonstrated that nitric oxide in low concentrations allows cells to communicate with each other. Nitric oxide becomes one of their special languages. The 1999 Nobel Prize was awarded to Rockefeller University biologist Dr. Günter Blobel, who explained how proteins are shipped to cells using a postal and zip code sort of system. Point 3 I believe when a person does not experience optimal health, it is because some cells are sick. Relying on research from other scientists, I have constructed my own theory about how the body is able to distribute the important biochemical compounds in noni. According to the theory, once in the body, proxyrenine travels to specific cells and settles in the cell's Golgi apparatus and reticuloendothelium. Within these structures, proxyrenine combines with other natural biochemicals and building blocks, i.e. hormones, proteins, enzymes, serotonin, vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants where it exerts its action. It is postulated the Golgi apparatus and the reticuloendothelium then assemble all the necessary compounds into a specific package, and deliver the package to the parts of the cell which are sick, or they may carry the package via the bloodstream to other sick cells in other parts of the body, similar to how letters are sent to a specific address based upon the specified postal code. This is called the noni phenomenon. As the receiving sick cell opens the package sent by the Golgi apparatus and the reticuloendothelium, the packaged proxyrenine combines with another cellular enzyme called proxyroninase. According to the research by Dr. Ralph Heinecker, this combination converts into zeronine. Others believe that zeronine aids the cell to repair and regenerate itself. This is one way I believe that noni juice from Tahiti helps the body heal itself. A simple illustration of this would be to compare proxyrenine to that of a conductor of a symphony orchestra. Just as a conductor skillfully conducts the participants in an orchestra, proxyrenine directs the various amounts of nutraceuticals, other natural biochemicals and building blocks, i.e. hormones, proteins, enzymes, serotonin, vitamins, minerals, antioxidants to go to that part of the sick cells to help in healthy regeneration. Once this happens, under the direction of its conductor, the cells once again work in harmony and play beautiful, helpful music. One might logically ask, why use noni juice from Tahiti to replenish proxyrenine? Why not obtain it from food? The answer is simple. Noni is a food and is by far the richest known source of proxyrenine. It has more than 40 times more proxyrenine than its closest competitor, pineapple. Tahitian noni juice is among the purest that can be found in the world. It is grown and harvested in the pristine environment of Polynesia and is routinely tested for over 600 contaminants by 2 independent laboratories. No contaminants have been found in Tahitian noni juice. Suggested noni usage. Ever since noni has become available in the United States, I have studied the tropical fruit, Morinda citrifolia. From my studies I have found some general guidelines on how much noni juice to drink to help some health situations. In other cases, many are still searching for guidance to figure out the optimal. My recent book written with Cord Udall, The Noni Phenomenon, I give guidance on how much noni juice the average person drinks to help in sickness and to augment his or her general well-being. In the book, I give suggestions for test, loading, optimal, and maintenance servings. I also include the information that animals under 100 pounds should drink the amount of Tahitian noni juice recommended for children, and animals over 100 pounds should drink the amount suggested for adults. In addition, for every 50 pounds over 250 pounds, an extra 1/2 ounce of noni should be added to all recommended amounts for people and animals. Table 3 is a copy of that usage chart, included in my book. Included in the data for Table 3 are the results from an independent study done by Mianying Wong, MD, and a researcher at the University of Illinois College of Medicine. Table 3. Average ounces of Tahitian noni juice consumed by users. Test serving, 3 days. Adult over 16 years. Before breakfast 1 teaspoon. Before dinner 1 teaspoon. Child under 16 years. Before breakfast 1 teaspoon. Loading serving, month 1. Adult over 16 years. Before breakfast 2 ounces. Before dinner 2 ounces. Child under 16 years. Before breakfast 1 ounce. Before dinner 1 ounce. Optimal serving, month 2 through month 6. Adult over 16 years. Before breakfast 2 ounces. Before dinner 1 ounce. Child under 16 years. Before breakfast 1 ounce. Before dinner 1/2 ounce. Maintenance prevention serving, month 7 and after. Adult over 16 years. Before breakfast 1 ounce. Before dinner 1 ounce. Child under 16 years. Before breakfast 1 ounce. For simplicity, I call it the 4-3 halves plan, 4 ounces for the first month, 3 ounces for the next 5 months, and 2 ounces thereafter. Children, less than 16 years take half the amount. In this book I have expanded on the above chart. I feel that if a person is suffering from a specific health condition increased to 28, the amount of Tahitian noni juice should be calculated accordingly. My method for estimating a more catered type of suggested noni usage is based on the information that I gathered from more than 200 health professionals worldwide who have clinical experience with Tahitian noni juice. Their data represent more than 20,000 noni users as well as the health conditions from which they suffer. This information leads me to conclude that different ounces of Tahitian noni juice help people with specific health conditions. This information is summarized in Table 4 and Table 5. In Table 4 the total hash column represents the number of people who consume noni juice for that specific condition, and the % helped column gives the percentage of how many of those people reported they had positive results. Please see Tables 4 and 5 on the following pages. Table 4.28 Conditions helped by people. WHO took noni N equals 20,000. Information from over 200 health professionals representing over 20,000 Tahitian noni juice drinkers from over 50 countries. Condition, decreased symptoms. 1. Allergy total hash 2,659% helped 87%. 2. Arthritis total hash 1,391% helped 79%. 3. Asthma total hash 6,714% helped 71%. 4. Cancer total hash 1,822% helped 68%. 5. CFIDS, fibromyalgia total hash 2,693% helped 76%. 6. Depression total hash 1,258% helped 78%. 7. Diabetes, types 1 and 2 total 4,634% helped 83%. 8. Digestions total 2,641% helped 90%. 9. Energy, increased total 13,331% helped 90%. 10. Heart disease total 1,796% helped 77%. 11. High blood pressure, decreased total 1,554% helped 85%. 12. HIV total 125% helped 55%. 13. Immune system total 3,485% helped 78%. 14. Kidney disease total 3,134% helped 66%. 15. Menstruation total 3,161% helped 80%. 16. Mental acuity, increased alertness total 4,615% helped 73%. 17. Multiple sclerosis total 20% helped 50%. 18. Muscle, increased body building total 1,006% helped 69%. 19. Obesity, lost some excess weight total 4,599% helped 72%. 20. Pain, including headaches total 5,622% helped 87%. 21. Respiratory problems total 3,068% helped 71%. 22. Skin and hair problems total 813% helped 79%. 23. Sexual enhancement, increased total 2,484% helped 83%. 24. Sleep, improved total 1,687% helped 74%. 25. Smoking, stopped total 729% helped 56%. 26. Stress, cope better total 5,616% helped 73%. 27. Stroke total 1,500% helped 53%. 28. Well-being, felt better total 6,564% helped 80%. In Table 5, I report the minimum, average, and maximum amount of Tahitian noni juice people drank who suffered from specific illnesses. I organized the 28 different health conditions into 4 groups that had the same averages. Please note that I did not include in my statistical analysis a few very extreme reported amounts of consumed noni juice that fell way out of the normal range. Also note that the averages are rounded to the closest ounce. Table 5. Breakdown of ounces of noni consumed per day by condition max. 21 ounces per day. Group 1, min. Half an ounce per day. Black circle average consumption 2 ounces per day. Energy, increased. Mental acuity, increased alertness. Muscle, increased bodybuilding. Sexual enhancement. Skin and hair problems, improved. Stress, coped better. Well-being, felt better. Group 2, min. Half an ounce per day. Black circle average consumption 2.5 ounces per day. Max 24 ounces per day. Allergy, lessened symptoms. Asthma, improved. Kidney health, improved. Digestion, improved. Menstruation, lessened. Symptoms. Obesity, lost some excess weight. Sleep, improved. Group 3, min. Half an ounce per day. Average consumption 3 ounces per day. Max 28 ounces per day. Arthritis, lessened symptoms. Depression, lessened symptoms. Diabetes, types 1 and 2, improved. High blood pressure, decreased pain, including headaches, decreased respiratory problems, fewer symptoms. Smoking, stopped. Group 4, min. Half an ounce per day. Black circle average consumption 3.5 ounces per day. Black circle max 30 ounces per day. Cancer, lessened symptoms. CFIDS, fibromyalgia, lessened symptoms. Heart disease, decreased symptoms. HIV, lessened symptoms. Immune system. Multiple sclerosis, lessened. Stroke, decreased symptoms. Symptoms. This custom usage chart may be helpful to those who are looking for a more precise amount of Tahitian noni juice to drink according to the condition that they wish to improve. Please remember that in some rare cases allergic symptoms to noni may occur. If persistent diarrhea or any major allergic symptoms appear, such as hives, swelling, or difficulty in swallowing, stop drinking noni for 3 days, then start drinking it again at half the amount. If possible, slowly build back up to the more helpful amount. If these symptoms reappear, stop drinking noni juice. If minor hypersensitivity side effects appear, such as belching, mild transient diarrhea or a slight rash or itching, then reduce the amount of noni you drink until the undesired symptoms disappear. If these symptoms persist, stop drinking noni juice. In both cases, notify your health professional and follow his or her advice. In each of the following 16 sections, I will cover the illnesses and conditions listed in Tables 4 and 5 in more detail. Specifically, I will cite the more common symptoms of the condition, its believed causes, how it is believed that Tahitian noni juice may help those who suffer from the condition, and how much noni juice others who have suffered from the condition have used to promote their health. In essence, I hope the rest of this book is a quick reference for those who are seeking a more clearly researched path to enhance their health using a natural substance such as Tahitian noni juice. In summary, the suggested testing and loading amounts of noni is found in Table 3. The amount of noni consumed each day by those people in my study who had successful outcomes for different conditions is found and explained in Table 5. The best amount of Tahitian noni juice to drink is the amount that helps you the most. Section 1. Cancer. Simply put, cancer is a cellular malfunction. When suffering from cancer, the human body loses normal cellular controls, which results in the malignant cell's unregulated growth. These cancer cells have a lack of differentiation and invade local tissue, travel elsewhere, and metastasize. The disease itself begins by one cell that mutates or changes. The abnormal cell maintains that mutation through the cell's reproduction process despite the efforts of the human body's defense system, which tries to eliminate abnormal cells. These mutated cells resulting from abnormal DNA then travel through the body, setting up residency in one or more of the body's organs. There are now well over 100 types of cancer that can exist within the human body. Since there are so many types of cancer, each with their own abnormal DNA and different set of signs and symptoms, it is impossible in this short review to cover all of them. From my experience at the Johns Hopkins Hospital, the most common symptom that I observed was the loss of energy. I also observed in different types of cancer such abnormalities as skin discoloration, and non-healing sores, detectable lumps under the skin, elevated temperature and weight loss, which are often associated with many other signs and symptoms. Most types of cancer start subtly and can only be properly diagnosed early on by having regular medical checkups and specific testing. The earlier a cancer is detected and treated, the better the outcome. I believe noni's effect on cancer most likely deals with the fact that both noni and cancer work on a cellular level. It is further believed that noni enhances cellular structure while cancer, of course, destroys it. One of noni's key components, proxyrenine, is sent to sick cells within the body by the Golgi apparatus reticuloendothelium. I believe that these sick cells attract proxyrenine and an enzyme, proxyroninase. The interaction creates zeronine, a cellular enhancer. A longer description of this is given in the section, The Noni Phenomenon. Several other studies have been performed in laboratories in order to validate Morinda citrifolia's cancer-fighting abilities. In one such study, 4 Japanese scientists injected RAS cells that are precursors to many malignant growths with a substance called damnicanthal found in Morinda citrifolia. They observed that the injection significantly inhibited the RAS cells from reproducing. Proxyrenine and damnicanthal are substances within Morinda citrifolia that are believed to be anti-cancer agents. In addition, research has revealed that noni helps stimulate the body's production of other cancer-fighting elements such as nitric oxide, interleukins, interferon, tumor necrosis factor, lipopolysaccharides, and natural killer cells. It is believed by some that Morinda citrifolia might exert a preventive and protective action against cancer during the initiation stage, which is the first. Figure 1. Density of DNA adduct markers in kidney and heart. Kidney 90% protection. Heart 60% protection. Autoradiographic density pattern of DNA adduct markers, single nucleotide, from two-dimensional thin layer chromatography. These figures show that the density of the markers of the group of rats who took noni as seen on the right side band D is significantly lower than the density of the markers of the group on the left A and C who did not drink noni. The lower the density, the more the prevention and protection against cancer. Phase of the formation of cancer. A study performed by Mianying Wang, MD, at the University of Illinois College of Medicine at Rockford showed that mice who were given a solution of 10% noni juice for a week and then injected with DMBA, a known cancer-causing agent, had significantly lower DNA adduct markers, a test for abnormal DNA, than DMBA-injected mice fed only water. The lower the number of DNA adduct markers, the more protection one has against fighting cancer. The noni-fed mice had 50% fewer DNA markers in the lungs than the water-fed mice without Tahitian noni juice, 60% fewer markers in the heart, 70% fewer in the liver, and 90% fewer in the kidneys. Therefore, Tahitian noni juice gave the greatest protection from cancer to the kidneys 90% and the least protection to the lungs 50%. Please see figures 1 and 2.10. Figure 2. Density of DNA adduct markers in liver and lung. Liver 70% protection. Lung 50% protection. Autoradiographic density pattern of DNA adduct markers, single nucleotide, from two-dimensional thin layer chromatography. These figures show that the density of the markers of the group of rats who took noni as seen on the right side band D is significantly lower than the density of the markers of the group on the left A and C who did not drink noni. The lower the density, the more the prevention and protection against cancer. A summation of the latest study done by Dr. Wang and her associate can be seen in Table 6. Dr. Wang's study addresses the hypothesis of whether or not Tahitian noni juice possesses a cancer preventative effect at the initiation stage of carcinogenesis. Preliminary data indicates that pretreatment for 1 week with Tahitian noni juice in drinking water at a concentration of 10% was able to prevent DMBA DNA adduct formation, marker for developing cancer in rats. Table 6. Pretreatment with rats drinking 10% Tahitian noni juice. Percent cancer reduction, males. Heart 60%. Lungs 50%. Liver 70%. Kidney 90%. Percent cancer reduction, females. Heart 30%. Lungs 41%. Liver 42%. Kidney 80%. Figures 1 and 2 and Table 6 were obtained from Dr. Mianying Wang's work and are used here with her permission. Under no circumstances can these figures or any portions of this book be photocopied or duplicated in any way without written permission from the publisher. Tahitian noni juice has proven antioxidant ability. This means it binds with or ties up the free radicals present within the body. Free radicals can damage cells that lead to the cell's mutation to a cancerous cell. Many feel the antioxidant activity is an important function of noni juice and one of the reasons so many people have reported success with cancer using the juice. Table 7 shows how Tahitian noni juice measures up in antioxidants compared with other well-known substances. Table 7. Antioxidant activity LPO and TNB. LPO equals lipid hydroperoxide quenching activity assay. TNB equals tetraethylium nitroblue, scavenger activity assay. Tahitian NONIR juice 100%. Vitamin C 2.8x less. Pycnogenol 1.4x less. GSP 1.1x less. Out of the 20,000 noni users in my survey, 1,822 suffered from some type of cancer. From this number, 68% of them reported positive health benefits after taking Tahitian noni juice. Amount of noni usage. The average amount consumed by the 68% who reported positive results was 3.5 ounces each day. Also in my research, I came across a noni recipe that has been used by cancer patients who want to give their bodies an extreme boost. The recipe comes from a medical professional, Orlando Pyle, MD. It is as follows. 1 bottle of Tahitian noni juice a day for 4 days. 1/2 bottle of Tahitian noni juice a day for the next 4 days. 8 ounces of Tahitian noni juice a day for the next 30 days. Resume your usual amount. I feel better than I have in years. Francis Lowe. My name is Francis Lowe. I am 50 years old. Noni juice is an answer to my prayers. It is working wonderfully for me as part of my protocol to overcome advanced aggressive adenocarcinoma of the endometrium, which is cancer of the lining of the womb. I had been extremely ill since August 1998, suffering severe lower pelvic pain daily for 8 months, anemia from excessive loss of blood, and enduring doctors' misdiagnoses until Thursday, February 25, 1999, when I was brought to UCSD Medical Hospital in San Diego as a medical emergency. The wonderful staff of doctors and nurses there saved my life. During my stay in the hospital, I received the shattering news: aggressive endometrial cancer. The pathology report March 5, 1999, said, grade 3 adenocarcinoma of the endometrium. At least a stage IIIC tumor. In January 1999, my friends Chuck and Carol Parker brought me noni juice. When I was able to drink 2 ounces of noni juice, I noticed I did not need as much pain medication. While in the hospital, my husband brought noni juice to me and gave it to me with the doctor's permission. After all, simple fruit juice is not going to hurt. Several of the nurses surprised me when they said they also took Tahitian noni juice. When I came home from the hospital, I suffered from nausea caused by the pain pills I was given. 5 days later, I stopped taking the pain medication and started taking larger amounts of noni juice. The nausea stopped after several days and I haven't needed any pain medication since then. In April 1999, the doctors said I needed radiation treatments to the entire pelvic area and to the middle above my waist because the involved lymph node was from this area. I declined the radiation treatment at that time, convinced that I needed to strengthen my body to fight this cancer, praying that God would heal me or bring me a treatment that would not have such extreme side effects. On April 14, 1999, I started taking 1 ounce of noni every hour with 5 ounces of water for a total of 24 ounces of noni and more than a gallon of water a day, for 4 days. I reduced this to 12 ounces Tahitian noni juice per day for 4 more days and then to 8 to 10 ounces noni per day through July. I continued drinking nearly a gallon of water every day. On August 3, 1999, lab reports indicated that my body had mounted the fight against the cancer. My doctor was surprised that my liver function was so good, and he said I'm doing very well. I feel better than I have in years doing things such as swimming, walking, lifting my 34-pound grandson, and singing in church and at home. I have a great appetite now, overflowing joy and lots of energy. My weight is stable at 127 pounds since April. My hair, which had shed terribly after my surgery, has grown back thicker than before, thanks to noni. I know that taking large amounts of noni juice in April helped turn my health around. I now take 6 to 8 ounces of noni juice per day. Noni is an important part of my natural food and supplements treatment program. I hope others have such wonderful results as I am having. I thank God for restoring my health and for creating noni. One thing that I learned from people who reported that their cancer symptoms were helped by drinking noni, was that the best amount for them was the amount which helped them the most. Many people with difficult problems were helped when they figured out the total amount of noni juice that helped each day, and then they drank it in divided amounts, hourly. Some did best by drinking 1/2 ounce of noni juice each hour while awake. Others did well by drinking 1 ounce an hour. Some people preferred drinking 2 ounces or more per hour. Drinking hourly amounts of noni was reported to have given relief not only to many people with cancer symptoms, but people suffering from other conditions listed in this book reported that the hourly method helped as well. Section 2. Arthritis. Under the general umbrella term of arthritis, lie many different kinds of diseases that result in pain associated with bodily movement. In fact, there are more than 100 different types of rheumatic diseases that are often misdiagnosed as arthritis. A short list of such diseases includes bursitis, tendinitis, systemic lupus, and connective and soft tissue diseases. Regardless of which disease one suffers from, chronic pain is often his or her constant companion. Common arthritis, called either osteoarthritis or degenerative joint disease, is found in the joints of the body, the most common areas being the knees and fingers. These joints become inflamed and sore from continued wear and tear. The cartilage that normally cushions the joints degenerates, leaving the raw joints to rub against each other. Often a person's condition exacerbates with age because of continued wear and tear. Rheumatoid arthritis, on the other hand, can attack at any age. It is an autoimmune disease that causes the body to destroy bodily tissues as if they were foreign invaders. Symptoms of rheumatoid arthritis include mild to severe joint dysfunction, fever, weight loss, stiffness, aching and loss of energy. Many times there is a red, painful lump located around the rheumatoid joint. In one form of autoimmune disease associated with arthritis, Sjogren's syndrome, the eyes and mouth may become very dry because the salivary glands are also affected. In recent years, some exciting studies have been published that shed light on how to more safely combat arthritis. The disease boils down to the body's overproduction of an enzyme called the COX-2 enzyme. There are actually two COX enzymes in the body. They are COX-1 and COX-2. COX-1 is called the good COX enzyme, while COX-2 has earned the unflattering name as the bad enzyme. COX-1 is easily identifiable and is important in regulation cell function. COX-2, on the other hand, is generally undetectable in most tissues, but increases to high levels during acute inflammation. The COX-1 enzyme, or good enzyme, creates prostaglandins that protect the stomach lining and other parts of the body. The COX-2 enzyme creates prostaglandins that cause inflammation in the joints, muscles and other areas. COX-1 is essential for blood clotting and for protecting the stomach. COX-2 is the key player in inflammation, pain, and fever. NSAIDs and other arthritis medications steeply decrease the body's production of both enzymes, thereby decreasing inflammation while at the same time causing harm to the stomach and its lining. The ideal situation would be to find a substance that inhibited COX-2, but did not significantly affect COX-1. There is such a substance and it is Tahitian noni juice. Researchers at an independent research facility found that indeed Tahitian noni juice was a selective inhibitor of COX-2. In addition, the juice did little, if any, damage to the COX-1 enzyme. When scientists compared the Tahitian noni juice COX-2 inhibition ratio to the COX-2 inhibition ratio of prescription arthritis medications, they found that Tahitian noni juice compared, very favorably, to the prescription medications. Yet, Tahitian noni juice exhibited none of the negative side effects that the prescription medications are known to cause. Next, researchers compared the Tahitian noni juice COX-2 inhibition ratio to the COX-2 inhibition ratio of NSAIDs. In this category, Tahitian noni juice far outperformed the over-the-counter medications. And again, the noni did not exhibit any of the negative side effects associated with NSAIDs. There are several other ways in which noni may alleviate the undesirable symptoms of arthritis. Pain is the #1 complaint with arthritis. A laboratory in France conducted a study that showed mice, given a liquid form of Morinda citrifolia, had significantly increased reaction time to a hot plate. The researchers concluded that this experiment demonstrated noni's analgesic qualities. Next, Morinda citrifolia has also been shown to contain scopoletin, which has anti-inflammatory and histamine-inhibiting effects, both of which are excellent for the promotion of smooth joint movement. Finally, the cellular-enhancing qualities of noni may also minimize the damage to the joints and other involved tissues. An incredible 79% of the 1,391 with either osteoarthritis or rheumatoid arthritis in my survey reported lessened symptoms after starting a regimen of Tahitian noni juice. Amount of noni usage. The average amount consumed by the 79% reported positive results was 3 ounces per day. Without pain, Ed, a 44-year-old sufferer of ankylosing spondylitis, a form of arthritis. I am a registered massage therapist in Ontario, Canada. I see over 40 patients a week. My greatest concern for my patients is their health. If you do not have your health, you have nothing. Since introducing my patients to Noni, I have seen remarkable and significant results. I have been massaging a 44-year-old man once a month for a year and a half with a condition called ankylosing spondylitis. This is a condition where the spine and hip bone meet, and the spinal column calcify and fuse together along with the vertebral bodies. The same process can take place between the neck and head. This is classified as a form of arthritis. With this fusing, the person is stiff and there is no flexibility in the spine. If you were to take an X-ray, you would see why the condition is also referred to as bamboo spine, and Marie-Strumpel's disease. This condition starts on both sides and moves slowly up the spine. It is very important that the patient keep the head looking straight ahead. If they do not and the head is looking down, the neck will fuse in the flexed position. There will be little or no turning the neck. When Ed first came to me, his complexion was gray, his face was somewhat wrinkled, his shoulders were rounded and his neck was flexed a little as he looked on the floor. It was hard for him to straighten up to look at me in the eyes. 1 month after his last visit he came through the door smiling away like a Cheshire cat. I noticed his complexion was clear with rosy cheeks, and the most significant thing that was so noticeable was his posture. He was straighter with his shoulders back and his head was a lot straighter too. I said, "Ed, what have you been doing? You look great." He just stood there grinning. I kept asking him what he had been doing. Finally, he said trademark without pain for the first time in my life since I've been a teenager. He said he had started taking something called Tahitian Noni Juice. "Ed," I said, "this is great news. You're getting your health back." Ed told me that he was up on the roof laying shingles that day. This is unheard of for a person who has this condition because he or she has to physically bend to do this job. Ed said he started by taking 4 ounces of Tahitian Noni Juice a day. Ed said when he wakes up every morning, he is constantly smiling and his wife wants to know why. Ed said he replies, "I don't know, I just am. I'm out of pain." During the massage, I noticed a significant change in his spine. It did not feel the same as other times. It was more defined and you could feel where the laminar groove was situated where you never could before. It has now been 5 weeks since I have seen Ed. Today he came back for another treatment. This time he was much straighter. He said he had gone to the doctor and the doctor noticed how much straighter he was and how easily he moved out of the chair. What a change. Section 3. Fibromyalgia and energy. Until about 5 years ago, many medical professionals did not recognize fibromyalgia as an actual disease. In fact, up to that time it was not politically correct for fibromyalgia awareness groups to spread the word about the syndrome in medical conferences. In the last few years, more and more studies have been published that substantiate fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue and immune dysfunction syndrome (CFIDS) as more than just psychological problems, as once classified. Researchers at the University of Alabama have discovered that patients with fibromyalgia have abnormalities in the brain and central nervous system. For example, fibromyalgia patients have significantly less blood flow to the parts of the brain that deal with pain, and they have twice the level of the brain chemical called substance P, which helps nervous system cells communicate with each other about painful stimuli. Women are more likely than men to have fibromyalgia and CFIDS, though the reason for this is not yet known. In fact, one study cited that 90% of fibromyalgia sufferers are women. Some of the more common symptoms of the disease are all over chronic pain, trouble sleeping, stiffness, severe fatigue, memory loss, and extreme headaches. The way in which Noni may help those suffering from these 2 debilitating diseases is not exactly clear, however there are several theories. For instance, an increase in energy after taking Tahitian Noni Juice was reported by 90% of the 13,331 people in my survey who were drinking Noni Juice. Those reported results are astounding. Since many fibromyalgia and CFIDS folks suffer from a loss of energy, an increase in energy from Noni is a very positive side effect from the juice. However, there seems to be more going on than just an increase of energy. Currently researchers are experimenting with medication to increase blood flow to the brain, cerebral blood flow. Noni allows the body to produce more nitric oxide, which has clinically been shown to improve blood flow. From my study, of the 2,693 NONI users that suffered from fibromyalgia and CFIDS, 76% of them reported lessened symptoms after taking NONI juice. Amount of NONI usage. The average amount consumed by the 76% reported a positive result was 3.5 ounces a day. I am ready to live the second half of my life. Kathleen Gambino Lab. 1972 I began experiencing symptoms of fatigue, depression, pain, headaches, and migraines. I sought help many times and was told it was stress. The symptoms would abate to some degree then reappear with greater severity for periods of months. January 1983 I had just graduated from college at the age of 39 with 4 children, a part-time job and an abusive husband. I became very physically ill and had a major depressive episode. Again I sought help from several different doctors to no avail. I was basically told, it is all in your head. July 1983 I was diagnosed with biological depression by Dr. Norman Moss in Newton, Massachusetts. I was put on medication Elevil 200 mg. And I improved dramatically. 1985 to 1992 During this time I experienced sporadic and extreme symptoms of fibromyalgia, palpitations, and liver abnormalities. Despite my constant bad health, I finished a degree at Harvard Divinity School. June 1993 After graduating from Harvard, the migraines were so debilitating I was desperate for relief. I turned to alternative methods, went off all my medications and proceeded to go downhill and become severely depressed. I also had pain everywhere and was completely exhausted. November 1994 I was in such pain, I could hardly walk and was so exhausted I could hardly get up off the couch. I finally called Dr. George Cohen, a rheumatologist at Massachusetts General Hospital. He was the first doctor to ever listen to all of my symptoms. He diagnosed the fibromyalgia and prescribed Elevil to add to the antidepressants I was taking, trazodone and Wellbutrin. My symptoms marginally reduced with medication, but flared up with any stress. Occasionally I would have a few days of respite from some of my symptoms. During those times I felt like myself again, clear thinking, energetic, little pain, and even some joy. With my newfound energy, I would try to catch up on everything, and in a few days I would be totally exhausted. January 2, 1996 I had a frightening episode of getting completely lost going to my homeopath, an easy 20-minute ride from my home. I finally had to call him and have him talk me back to his office. I had been traveling for almost an hour, but had no sense of time or place. This is not the first incident of severe confusion or the last. In February 1999 I again got completely lost going to my gynecologist. By the time that I got to her office, I was shaking and my blood pressure was 169 1/10. Normal is 120/80. I shook for the rest of the day. After the episode in January of 1996, I consulted numerous doctors including fibromyalgia specialist Dr. Goldenberg at Newton Wellesley, physiologist Dr. Christopher Quinn at Newton Wellesley PT, fibromyalgia allergies specialist Dr. Carol Englender at Newton, MA, and neurologist Dr. James Labrich at Mass General Hospital. These specialists helped my condition improve some, but I still felt I was living a marginal existence. June 1997 There was a family crisis that caused me a great deal of stress. Subsequently, I became ill again with the symptoms of fibromyalgia. By August of 1997, I was severely ill with a high fever, sore throat, and extreme exhaustion. In late October, I was finally given a blood test and diagnosed with mono and acute streptococcus infection, which caused a rash all over my body. By then my liver was enlarged, I was dehydrated and in bad shape. By February of 1999, I was ripe to try some other resource when a friend sold me a bottle of Tahitian Noni Juice. 3 days after starting Noni I slept through the night. My sleeping disorder began at age 6, it is one of the symptoms of fibromyalgia. At first I thought that this must be a placebo effect. After the 5th night of wonderful sleep I decided that I didn't care what it was, I was never going without my daily dose of Noni again. Just 5 days before I was complaining to my doctor about my sleepless nights and he told me that it was just part of my disorder. Author's note: Just as this writer indicates she would not stop taking noni juice, an amazing 69% of all noni juice users interviewed said they too would not stop taking their noni juice because of the health benefits they experienced. 2 weeks after I started taking Tahitian noni juice, I had less pain overall and my energy increased dramatically to a level one had not felt in years. My mood was vastly improved, my colon and bladder symptoms disappeared, and my mind became sharper and my voice stronger. I continued to improve with each day. I usually note these changes with an epiphany. I can move my wrists. Looking out the car window with a moonrise on one side and a sunset on the other, I suddenly realized, I can turn my neck from side to side. It was a triumph the day I came out of the shower announcing that I could wash my own hair without pain or fatigue. These were small but important milestones for me. This weekend I was able to ride 8 hours each way to and from Philadelphia and sit through a whole conference. We arrived home at 12:30 a.m. and got up Sunday and drove to Boston over an hour each way to another 5-hour meeting. This would have been unthinkable just 1 month ago. A 2-hour trip would normally leave me exhausted and in tremendous pain, and it would have taken me days to recover. This morning I woke up feeling great with almost no pain and with plenty of energy. These changes and many more have given me confidence that had diminished with the debilitating effects of the fibromyalgia. I am ready to live the second half of my life as I never lived before. Section 4. Diabetes. Many people are surprised to learn that this nation's third top killer is diabetes, falling behind only heart disease and cancer. Fortunately, many of the effects of diabetes can be controlled. While there is no cure for the disease, studies show that by keeping one's blood sugar as close to normal as possible significantly reduces diabetes' long-term complications. The diabetic's body is not able to properly turn food into energy. The cause of the problem is the body's production and use of the hormone called insulin. Beta cells in the pancreas manufacture insulin. There are 2 types of diabetes, type 1 and type 2. In type 1 diabetes, the body produces little or no insulin. It is often referred to as juvenile diabetes because it usually starts at a younger age and is more severe. In type 2 diabetes, the body produces enough insulin, sometimes even too much. However, the insulin is unable to adequately enter the body's cells to break down sugar into energy. In a type 2 diabetic, the body also has trouble properly utilizing fats and protein. Type 2 is the more common type, accounting for nearly 90% of diabetics. It used to be referred to as maturity-onset diabetes. Type 1 and type 2 diabetes share some similar symptoms, the most common of which include lack of energy, increased hunger, weight loss, frequent urination, excessive thirst, blurred vision, nausea, abdominal pain, and weakness. While we do know that diabetes is genetic, or is passed on from generation to generation, scientists are not exactly sure of the precise cause except that the disease may be the result of a malfunction in the body's endocrine and immune system. Research has shown that if the immune system starts to turn on itself, perhaps the result of an autoimmune disorder, it may cause a complete obliteration of the pancreas beta cells or at least a reduction in the number of functioning beta cells. This then affects the amount and purity and effectiveness of the body's insulin. However, if the immune system is able to ward off an attack, the integrity of the body's insulin will be maintained. More refined tests now make it possible to detect faulty immune antibodies in the blood well in advance of a person showing symptoms of diabetes. In some adults, these destructive antibodies may be present years before diabetic symptoms appear. This lag time is known as the prediabetic stage. This prediabetic state, or destructive antibody-producing state, can be found in other endocrine diseases such as Hashimoto's thyroiditis, and Addison's disease, adrenal insufficiency. Coexisting thyroiditis and Addison's disease is called Schmidt's syndrome. In the 1960s, I was on the faculty of medicine at the Johns Hopkins Medical School and a member of a medical team that researched Schmidt's syndrome. The team was made up of many fine Johns Hopkins Hospital physicians such as the late Dr. A.M. Harvey, who was chairman and professor of the Department of Medicine, Dr. Ivan L. Bennett, who was professor and chairman of the Department of Pathology, Dr. Charles C. Carpenter, chief resident on the Osler Medical Service of the Johns Hopkins Hospital, and others. Our team found that many patients with Schmidt's syndrome not only had antibodies targeted against the adrenal and thyroid glands but also against the insulin-producing beta cells of the pancreas. We published the interrelationship between antibodies and the adrenal, thyroid and pancreas in peer-reviewed medical journals. I believe that one of noni's effects is on the pancreas and immune system. Current studies have revealed that noni may help promote a healthy immune system by either enhancing an already functioning system or by stimulating a sluggish one. In addition, as described earlier, noni is believed to fortify and maintain cell structure. This can be accomplished by noni acting as an adaptogen that can aid sick cells in repairing themselves. This could apply to diabetes by either helping malfunctioning beta cells in the pancreas or by aiding the cells that are unsuccessfully trying to receive and use the glucose in the blood. Finally, drinking noni may also help relieve diabetic symptoms through its ability to stimulate the body's production of scopolamine and the indirect production of nitric oxide. Both may also be important factors in decreasing such as poor circulation and vision problems. Symptoms. Since the intake of sugars, even natural sugars, may be important to track in a diabetic's diet, it is good to note that 4 ounces of noni juice equals 1 fruit exchange. The general rule for diabetics is to gradually start using noni juice. Keep in mind, however, since Tahitian noni juice is a natural food, it is no more likely to change a person's blood sugar level than any other fruit juice. Keeping a daily log of your blood sugar level is the best way to monitor any changes that perhaps may occur. The good recommendation is to check your blood sugar first thing in the morning, a fasting level, and then check it again in the late afternoon around 4 p.m. This will show how your body is metabolizing sugar and responding to the noni juice or anything else you have consumed. Please note that a type 1 diabetic should never substitute noni juice for insulin shots. A type 1 diabetic may be able to reduce his or her insulin. Using a natural supplement such as noni juice should be done under the supervision of a doctor. In my survey, of the 4,634 people who consumed noni juice for help with their diabetic symptoms, 83% of them reported that their diabetic symptoms lessened. Amount of noni usage. The average amount consumed by the 83 reported positive results was 3 ounces a day. One happy person, Karen Ronicki. I've been an insulin-dependent diabetic type 1 for more than 29 years. I currently take 3 injections daily and have done so for over 10 years. I test my blood sugars 4 times a day. I'm far from what you would call controlled. Traditionally, my blood sugar has been very high, 200 to 300 plus, with an occasional extreme low. I've tested as low as 23 while coming out of unconsciousness or a diabetic coma. Normal blood sugars for me would be 150 to 180, when I could get those numbers, though most doctors and laboratories wouldn't call that normal. Normal fasting sugar for most people is 70–110 milligrams DL. Needless to say, my diabetes hasn't been a fun ride. I am now in week 5 of taking noni according to Gene Dillman's recommendations. I am in week 2 of taking 4 ounces a day. I have had only one occasion of extremely low blood sugar during this time. My overall readings are more significant, they are much more balanced than they've ever been. I still have an occasional high, but most of my readings are much more acceptable than before. Numbers from 120 to 180 are much more frequent than before. And this has to be due to the noni because nothing else has changed my activity level, my diet, nothing. If things continue this well, I'll be one happy person at the end of that time period. Section 5. Asthma and respiratory problems. For those who suffer from severe asthma, easy tasks such as walking up the stairs or participating in an outdoor picnic can result in hours of labored breathing. Asthma is a chronic condition that affects more than 17 million Americans, and it is a condition that is growing. Studies show that the number of asthma cases in America has increased by 75% between the years 1980 and 1994. In addition, 90% of the deaths from asthma occur in the elderly, the majority of whom are women. In an asthmatic person's lungs, the airways called bronchioles constrict abnormally when stimulated by things such as allergens and exercise, which makes it difficult to expel air from the lungs. Research has linked the presence of allergies with asthma, though not all asthmatics have allergies, and not all allergic people have asthma. Some of the main symptoms of the condition are wheezing, breathlessness, inability to exhale properly, a phlegm or mucus-producing cough, and loss of energy. Inflammation of the lungs is present even in mildest cases of asthma and can lead to other problems such as respiratory infections. Genetic susceptibility seems to be one of the major culprits that cause asthma. However, there are identifiable triggers of the condition. Asthma may be brought on by an allergic response, exercise, bacterial and viral infections, hormones, stress, and other triggers. One interesting note is that 30 to 40% of women experience a fluctuation in their asthma symptoms during their menstrual cycles. Whatever it is that triggers a person's asthma, a food supplement such as Tahitian noni juice may help in reducing the severity of the symptoms by boosting the immune system and enhancing the cellular structure of the bronchioles. This is, I believe, mostly due to the proxyrenine bundled packages sent by the Golgi apparatus and reticuloendothelium to the affected, sick, cells. Please see the section, The Noni Phenomenon, of this book for a more complete explanation. Other, non-asthmatic respiratory illnesses have also seemed to respond to Tahitian noni juice. Infections of the lungs, bronchitis, and pneumonia are all illnesses that affect people who do not have asthma. Pneumonia, for example, can be caused by 30 different causes. The 5 most common are bacteria, viruses, mycoplasmas, infectious agents such as fungi, and various chemicals. Since noni works on a cellular level, regardless of the causes of pneumonia, noni has the ability to strengthen weakened lung cells and boost the body's ability to naturally ward off the causative agents. In my survey, of the 6,714 people who consumed noni juice for help with their asthmatic symptoms, 71% reported their symptoms lessened. In addition, of the 3,068 people who took noni for other non-asthma-related respiratory problems, 71% reported improved health. Amount of noni usage. The average amount consumed by the 71% who reported positive results with asthma symptoms was 2.5 ounces per day. The average amount consumed by those with other respiratory problems was 3 ounces per day. He does not need inhalers anymore, Katrina Tran. My son had asthma since he was 2 years old. Besides everyday medication, he also used 2 different types of inhalers. He coughed all the time, he was always short of breath, and he would start having an asthma attack every time he overplayed with other kids. He had to go to visit his specialist doctor very often for the asthma treatments. There were a few times that my husband and I thought we had to take because at emergency room got so severe. As a mother, it's very difficult to see your child in pain and there's nothing you can do to help ease the pain. I felt so useless. The condition lasted longer than a year until May of this year, when a friend, Jolene Ziegler, introduced me to noni juice. After doing some research on this product, I let my son use it. He started with 1 ounce every morning and night. After 2 weeks I saw a lot of improvements in him. He did not have asthma attacks. He coughed less and spent more time playing with his friends and cousins. The second month I took him back to see his doctor for a checkup. The doctor told me he was perfectly fine. For 3 months now, after using the noni juice, he does not need any more inhalers or cough medicine. Noni is part of our lives now. We all take 1 to 2 ounces a day just to maintain good health. This is truly a gift from God. Where else can you find something that works so well? Try it, experience it and you will see. Section 6. Depression. Noni juice helped me get back control over my life. David Johnson. My name is David Johnson. I am 38 years old. I am an insulin-dependent diabetic since the age of 4. I was diagnosed as an asthmatic 15 years ago. 2 years ago I developed angina, which is insufficient blood flow from the heart to meet the needed demand for oxygen. 6 months later I had an angioplasty to help my heart disease. A balloon was inserted that opened the clogged arteries going to my heart. 3 months after that I had a 4 bypass open heart surgery. This surgical procedure bypasses the blocked coronary artery and re-establishes blood flow to the heart. While my main artery blockages have been bypassed, many of my small arteries supplying blood to my heart are also blocked. The medical profession can do nothing to reverse this condition. I have never let my health issues get me down, and I have lived an extremely full life. However, being a young married man with 4 young children, having doctors tell me that there is no hope, has led me to times of depression. It left me wondering if it is worth continuing the struggle to live, as my quality of life was slipping through my fingers. About 2 months ago, a dear friend, Faye Nichols-Holt, introduced me to Tahitian Noni Juice. I began taking it only as a maintenance dose of 1 ounce per day. Shortly afterwards, I noticed a number of areas of health begin to improve. Due to the nature and number of drugs that I have to take daily, passing urine had become both difficult and painful. The noni juice improved this not by a huge amount, but it was noticeably better. It also lowered the amount of insulin I required each day by about 20%. The most significant change was in the area of my mind and my general well-being. It is kinda hard to put into words, but I wasn't as depressed, and I felt more uplifted as a person. So, the next most obvious thing to do was to increase the dose, which I did from 1 ounce per day to 3 ounces per day. The benefits likewise increased. My urinary problems are much better, about 60% gone. My dose of insulin has dropped by about 40%. My outlook on life is much more positive. My sickness and the effects of powerful medicines overwhelmed me. Noni Juice began to help me get back some control over my life by first, making me feel better, and second, opening my mind to looking at things other than conventional medicines. Western medicine is very good, it has saved millions of lives, but it also has limitations and problems such as bad side effects. I thank God for creating Noni, which has been the starting point of better health and a better quality of life for my family and me. Simply put, depression is a mood disorder. We will start this discussion with what someone in David's situation might experience. He may have an adjustment disorder with depression, which can include, among other symptoms, a depressed mood. In response to stressor, not including bereavement, one may, as David did, feel very sad, hopeless about his situation, and possibly tearful. Usually within 6 months, if the stressor is resolved, the person feels back to him or herself. If the stressor is chronic, or the consequences of the situation continues, as in David's case, the depression may last much longer until things get resolved. Examples of such situations could be long-term disabling illness or the dissolution of a family. Or the response could be in relation to a big life change, such as going away from home, moving to a new city, getting a new job, or losing a job. Situations like these may take a long time from which to recover and may be very painful to resolve. Whatever the initial trigger, depression is perhaps one of the most expensive diseases in the United States. According to the National Depressive and Manic Depressive Association, the United States loses an estimated $43 billion a year in missed work days and less productivity, along with medical costs from depression's debilitating symptoms, to say nothing of the mental anguish for the patient, his or her family, and friends. Depression affects a person's mood, thoughts, behaviors, and physical well-being. As mentioned, it often accompanies or may be sparked by the diagnosis of other chronic illnesses. Statistics show that 80 to 90% of all depression cases can be treated very effectively if people would get the mental help they need. The earlier the treatment, the better. It's never too late. Most depressions are a disorder of the brain's chemistry. However, the disease is much more complex than it sounds. We have already discussed adjustment disorder with depression, which appeared to be the case with David. Now, to try and understand other kinds of depression better, let's examine 3 other main categories of depression: major depressive illness, dysthymia, and bipolar disorder. Major depression strikes intensely for an undetermined period of time. During the episode, things such as eating, sleeping, or even getting out of bed become almost unbearable. Much of the time one can't think or concentrate. Dysthymia, on the other hand, can be milder and persistent with low moods almost every day, possibly lasting for several years. Sad days outnumber good days. Victims function to a degree, but always feel as if they are never at their full capacity. Victims of bipolar disorder swing between episodes of major depression and highs, known as mania, or less severe highs, known as hypomania. Its high symptoms include irritability, elevated mood with decreased need for sleep, excessive talking, and impulsive behavior fueled by bad judgment leading to painful consequences for themselves and their loved ones. Chemicals in the brain may be largely responsible for depression, mania, and hypomania. Serotonin is one such known chemical. Studies on Morinda citrifolia reveal an important role it may play in the body's production and proper utilization of serotonin. 20 Noni's believed ability to boost other natural biochemicals such as hormones might play a part in why so many people have experienced positive results helping their depression with Tahitian NONI juice. Major depression, dysthymia, and bipolar disorder often require psychiatric help and medicines to normalize the chemicals in the brain. In my survey, of the 1,258 people who consumed noni juice for help with their depression, 78% reported some of their less severe symptoms decreased after drinking noni juice. Amount of noni usage. The average amount consumed by the 78% who reported positive results was 3 ounces per day. Section 7. Multiple sclerosis. Multiple sclerosis, also known as MS, is a chronic disease of the central nervous system. The disease begins with the destruction of myelin, the fatty sheath that insulates nerve fibers in the central nervous system, which are the nerves running throughout the brain spinal cord. Typically, diagnosis of the disease occurs between 20 and 40 years of age. Early symptoms of the condition include things such as difficulty in walking, abnormal sensations such as numbness or pins and needles, eye pain and loss of vision, slurred speech, tremors, and loss of coordination. The natural history of MS is for people to show improvement then get worse, and the cycle repeats. Symptoms can become more severe over time, with less improvement in between, and can ultimately lead to paralysis and blindness. What causes MS is a very actively researched topic in the medical world. Like many other chronic diseases, genetics appear to play a part in a person's susceptibility to multiple sclerosis. In the United States, the average person has a 1 in 1,000 chance of developing MS. However, those numbers change to a chance of 1 in 100 if a person has close family relations, parents, siblings already diagnosed with the disease. In addition to genetics, researchers believe that factors such as viruses, environmental pollutants, and immune system factors may also trigger multiple sclerosis. 21. Since it is the nervous system that is under attack in those suffering from multiple sclerosis, it is natural to link noni's success in promoting a healthy nervous system with its reported success in relieving some of the negative effects caused by MS. The destruction of the myelin sheath and other affected areas may be helped by noni's believed ability to rejuvenate sick cells throughout the body. In my survey, of the 20 people who consumed noni juice for help with their symptoms from multiple sclerosis, 50% reported their symptoms lessened after taking noni juice. Amount of noni usage. The average amount consumed by the 50% who reported positive results was 3.5 ounces per day. She held her head. Gail, a sufferer of multiple sclerosis. Joan L. Mailing, a registered massage therapist in Ontario, Canada, relates the following story. My patient Gail was diagnosed with MS in February 1998. Every time she came to me I noticed something different about her walk. I asked her what was wrong with her foot because she was placing it on the floor very gently. She said nothing was wrong with her foot. So I asked her about her leg and thigh if there was any pain. The answer was no. Later she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. Last October I called Gail to tell her about noni. She wanted to get some immediately. In December I went to visit her to see how she was doing. I asked her how long it had been since she had an attack. She said 3 months. One other thing that I had noticed was that Gail had lost weight. Her walk was different and she was not stooped over. Her posture was straighter. She said she lost 10 pounds due to noni juice. Her walk was very even and the strides were wider. Before noni, she was taking steps like a baby and waddling back and forth. The thing I could not get over was her posture. Her spine was straighter and she seemed taller as she held her head up. Section 8. High blood pressure, heart disease, and stroke. High blood pressure is one of the body's most noticeable red flags to indicate that a person's heart and blood vessels are in trouble. Once a person is diagnosed with high blood pressure, he or she is 7 times more likely to suffer a stroke, 4 times more likely to have a heart attack, and 5 times more likely to die of congestive heart failure. On a positive note, there are well-proven ways to control blood pressure and even reverse some of the damage already done. Before discussing how to control high blood pressure, let's talk about what it is. Blood pressure is the force exerted by the heart on the blood as it moves through a person's arteries. If a person has high blood pressure, this means the heart is pumping harder than it should have to pump. A healthy blood pressure would read somewhere at or below 120/80 or lower. I consider mildly high blood pressure somewhere around 130/90. Most doctors agree that a blood pressure reading of 160/100 or higher is considered dangerous. I have lumped high blood pressure, heart disease and strokes together, because they are all interrelated in the body's circulatory system. In a heart attack, there is not enough nutrient-rich oxygenated blood to nourish the heart muscle cells. As a result, some heart muscle cells die. When enough die, you have a heart attack. It can be sudden, as a result of a cholesterol calcium fibrin clot to the coronary artery, or an embolus, which is a clot that breaks away from another part of your body and ends up clogging your coronary arteries. Another scenario would be if your coronary artery goes into spasm, preventing adequate blood flow, or you can have a small unstable plaque release that goes toward the heart and clogs the coronary artery as well as puts it in spasm. The end result of all these conditions results in not enough nutrient-rich oxygenated blood to sustain heart muscle. In a stroke, or brain attack, as some lay people call it, the brain tissue is damaged due to lack of blood flow. The lack of blood can be caused by a blood clot in an artery that has decreased in size because of spasm or atherosclerosis. It can also be caused when a brain cerebral artery leaks blood, as in a leaking or ruptured aneurysm. There are many lifestyle changes a person with high blood pressure can make to fight against these conditions. A change in diet to reduce red meat and fats, and to add more fiber and fresh fruits is a very good start. Sodium intake should be reduced, and of course one ought to get regular exercise. There are many other recommendations I make in my book, The Noni Phenomenon, including, add a good amount of garlic, onions, and celery to your diet, avoid caffeine, stay away from excessive amounts of dairy products, processed sugars and flours, and supplement with things such as antioxidants, vitamins, essential omega-3 fatty acids, fiber, calcium, magnesium, selenium and others. I believe the reasons for Noni's reported success in helping with high blood pressure are multifaceted. First of all, Morinda citrifolia contains scopoletin, which has been scientifically proven to dilate blood vessels resulting in lower blood pressure. The second reason that many use Noni for high blood pressure is that this fruit juice from Tahiti helps stimulate the body's production of nitric oxide, a chemical which allows the blood vessels to dilate more easily and be more elastic. The third reason, I believe, is through the zeronin system that promotes a healthy cell structure within the circulatory system. In my survey, of the 1,554 people who consumed noni juice to help with their high blood pressure, 85% reported their blood pressure decreased. Of the 1,796 people who took noni to help with their symptoms of heart disease, 77% reported lessened symptoms. Last of all, of the 1,500 people who took noni for help with their stroke symptoms, 53% reported it helped. Amount of noni usage. The average amount consumed by the 85% who reported positive blood pressure results was 3 ounces per day. Those who reported success with stroke and heart disease took on an average 3.5 ounces per day. I will take noni for as long as I live. Michael Sossin. I started to take noni juice in March 1997. My hope was to get my blood pressure under control. I started with 2 ounces per day, 1 in the morning and 1 later in the day before dinner. Since then, I changed that to the last thing I do before going to bed at night. Within the first few days, I noticed I had better energy and my hiatal hernia stopped burning. Within the first 2 or 3 months, my doctor noticed that my blood pressure was normalizing. He asked me what I was doing differently, and I told him about the noni juice. Being skeptical, he said if I wished to continue with the product that was fine. It was just juice and it should not harm me. This continued for another year with the results of my hypertension staying in the 120/80 range. My doctor then asked me if I would supply him with a bottle for himself. Which, of course, I did. The doctor reported to me that within the first week he had more energy and feeling of well-being. I had mentioned to my physician that I wanted to stop my medications. I said I believed noni juice would do as good or better than the medication, and it is a natural food. He said he wanted to monitor me for a while longer. About 3 months later he said I could start lowering my medications one at a time by decreasing the amount I was taking. The first drug to change was Adalat XL from 60 mg to 30 mg. After monitoring me for another 3 months, my physician said I could stop Adalat XL entirely, although he wanted me back in for a blood pressure check every week for 2 months. In addition, he sent me for blood tests to see if I could go off my cholesterol pill. I will take noni juice for as long as I live. Noni gives me more energy, a feeling of wellness, and is helping me get off the drug medications I have been on since my minor stroke in 1994. I will continue to take a minimum of 2 ounces per day. My health provider also is starting to believe in noni as he has another of his patients getting noni from me. He too is having good results. Section 9. HIV and other immune system disorders. HIV is an acronym that stands for Human Immunodeficiency Virus. The virus causes just what its name describes, a deficiency in the human immune system. A person can test positive for HIV but not show any symptoms of the deficiency for years. A person who is HIV positive and has had an opportunistic infection, one that would not have developed if HIV had not been present, or who has a helper T cell count in the blood of less than 200 is considered to have the disease AIDS, or acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. There are actually 2 types of HIV viruses. Type 1, which is more common in the United States, and Type 2, which is more common in Europe. Both may eventually cause AIDS. AIDS becomes life-threatening when helper T cells are weakened or destroyed by the HIV virus. T cells help infection-fighting antibodies to form in the body's blood. A normal T cell count is anywhere between 600 and 1000. The only way to confirm whether or not a person has the HIV virus or has developed AIDS is to have a blood test. Symptoms of the disease are random and vary from person to person. However, some of the more common signs and symptoms of AIDS can be rapid weight loss, dry cough, recurring fever, night sweats, swollen lymph glands, chronic diarrhea, white spots in the mouth, pneumonia, memory loss, skin lesions, and depression. Not only have I received reports about how noni has helped reduce the negative signs and symptoms experienced by sufferers of AIDS such as respiratory illnesses and digestive disorders, but I have also received information from individuals indicating that a significant rise in T cells occurred after starting to drink Tahitian noni juice. I believe in the case of noni and AIDS, there may be a very strong relationship between Dr. Ralph Heineke's work with the zeronine system and boosting the cells most involved with the disease helper T cells. In his theory, when the proxyronine is combined with proxyroninase, it creates the cell-rejuvenating substance known as zeronine. With the T cells rejuvenated and present in a larger number, the body is more able to ward off diseases and maintain functionality. There are other immune system problems that are not related to HIV. For example, myasthenia gravis and Addison's disease are both disorders within the body where the immune system turns against the body. In myasthenia gravis, the body creates antibodies against its own nicotinic acetylcholine receptors found in the muscles. This results in muscular weakness and fatigue. Addison's disease occurs when the immune system attacks the body's adrenal gland where some of the body's hormones are produced. Without the production of these hormones, the body does not grow correctly, the person will have a chronic, worsening fatigue, blood pressure falls easily, and he or she will be very susceptible to other diseases such as the flu. With these types of immune system disorders, I believe Tahitian noni juice can help in several ways. First of all, it can help from a preventative standpoint. If your immune system is not functioning correctly, then a person needs to be very careful about not contracting other common illnesses that could explode into major illness episodes. Tahitian noni juice boosts the overall immune system of the body and helps to maintain optimal health. Many people report that they take Tahitian noni juice while traveling, when the body's immune defenses seem to be at its lowest, to avoid arriving at their destination with the usual traveler's cold. Ancient Polynesian warriors used to take the noni fruit with them to help them maintain stamina and strength. Another way in which Tahitian noni juice may help with immune system disorders is through the cellular rebuilding mechanism referred to as the zeronin system. According to Dr. Ralph Heinecker, the zeronin system may help to jump-starting the organ or organs that have been attacked by the malfunctioning immune system. The zeronin from noni would accomplish at a cellular level and through giving the body's sick cells the added zeronin needed to repair itself. According to Dr. Mona Harrison, a Harvard graduate who has studied and used Tahitian noni juice in her medical practice, she theorizes that Tahitian noni juice plays an important role in stimulating some of the glands of the endocrine system and thereby promotes better hormone production and balance in the body. 23. In my survey, of the 125 people who consumed noni juice to help reduce their symptoms with AIDS, 55% reported some sort of successful results. Also in my survey, I found that of the 3,485 people who took noni to help with other immune system problems, 78% noticed a decrease in their negative symptoms. Amount of noni usage. The average amount consumed by the 58% who reported positive results with their HIV symptoms was 3.5 ounces per day. The percent who reported positive results with other immune system problems also drank an average of 3.5 ounces per day. The doctors and nurses couldn't believe it. Paul Miller, brother to AIDS survivor. My name is Paul Miller. I am a UPS driver and would like to take this time to share with you a true miracle, one that I wouldn't believe if I hadn't seen it for myself. It started December 27, 1998 when I received a phone call from my sister, Deborah Gear, in Port Orange, Florida. She said she needed to talk to me as soon as possible, so I went over that night. She said she was having slurred speech and she was going to Halifax Hospital to run some tests. After 2 weeks in the hospital and another 2 weeks waiting for the results, the bad news finally came. My sister, who has been a nurse for 12 years, was diagnosed as HIV positive and had a condition called PML. PML is a rare form of AIDS and is very deadly. She had about 2 months to live. In short, PML is AIDS of the brain. By the second week of February, my sister's right side was completely paralyzed, and her speech was down to saying yes and no. She went downhill very fast from week to week. I prayed to God if there was any answer for her, please let me find it. By the week before Easter, the spot on her brain covered about 70% of its mass. She was totally incoherent, didn't know who I was, her viral load was over 800,000, her T-cell count was under 100 and she had 7 sores on her leg that wouldn't heal. She weighed 89 pounds. Dr. Hall took her off her HIV medication at that point and put her into a hospice facility in Port Orange to die. He said she had 5 days left, 10 at best. That was on the Friday before Easter. I was on vacation the next week and I knew I would be going to a funeral. Friday before I got off work, a friend of mine named Ricky told me about a product that might help her called Tahitian noni juice. He told me all about it and then I told him that nothing would help her now, that she was too far gone, but he talked me into buying her a bottle of hope even though I knew it wouldn't help her. On Saturday I took it to her and told her all about it, though she didn't know I was there. I told the nurses to start giving it to her 6 to 8 ounces a day. They were reluctant and checked with the doctor. Dr. Hall said she could have it, but it wouldn't help her and the nurses thought the same, but said they would start giving it to her. 3 days later, while on vacation, I went to see her. She had started reacting to the noni juice. She was somewhat coherent and was trying to say words though you couldn't understand a word. Her dad, the doctor, and myself thought it was just her last gasp for life before the end. I came back on Saturday only to see more improvement. She was saying yes and no and was a lot more coherent. She had gained 6 pounds and the sores on her leg appeared to be healing. It seemed too good to be true. It had been a week of improvement, but no one believed it could be the juice, but at this time she was only on sleeping pills, painkillers and noni juice. I started to wonder if it was the noni. I have seen her every week since. By the second week on noni, her sores were completely healed. She was eating like a horse and was gaining about 5 pounds a week and was speaking more and more, even in sentences by week 3. By week 4 on noni, she started moving her paralyzed leg and a few days later she started moving her arm. Every week she got better and better. The doctors and nurses couldn't believe it. Even though they had a hard time saying it, they too came to the conclusion that it was the noni juice. She is now walking and talking, though she has a long way to go. On June 30th she was released from hospice and went home. She now weighs 132 pounds, her normal weight. God did let me find the answer. It was a plant that He created that saved her life. It is now July 10, 1999, and the new tests are in. Her viral load and her T-cell count are totally normal. Her CAT scan showed a decrease of the spot on her brain from 70% mass to about 3%. The density of the spot that's left is very thin, which the doctors say indicates the spot is dissolving itself. My sister is no longer dying, though she has a long way to go with physical therapy, speech therapy and time to get back and learn the things she forgot how to do. In time she will be okay. I have my sister back and I thank God and noni juice for that. Noni will change your life forever. It has mine and I'll never forget it. Section 10. Acute and chronic pain. Pain. We all know what it feels like, but do we know what it really is? When you cut your finger, nerves around the injury send pain signals to the brain, which in return sends impulses back to the injured area that sensitize it and cause inflammation. When the pain is relatively brief, or acute, these signals and impulses last for a relatively short time period and then stop. However, some researchers believe chronic pain is a different story. In the book, The Pain Cure, Dr. Dharma Khalsa demonstrates how chronic pain may gain a life of its own by in a sense jamming the nervous system pathways open. For example, in a painful condition that is chronic such as back problems, as the pain signals and impulses are sent to and from the brain, they begin to engrave a pain pathway on the body's nervous system. Biological gates through which pain signals and impulses pass may even become jammed open with constant use. Therefore, even after the original injury should have been resolved, the pain continues, becoming an illness all its own. 24. Things such as lack of sleep, stressful lifestyle, repeated injury, physical inactivity, lack of important dietary nutrients, hypoglycemia, and a serotonin or endorphin deficit may cause the body to jam open its biological gateways and experience chronic pain. Some of the most common types of chronic pain include arthritis, back pain, and migraines. The ancient native healers, the kahunas, traditionally used noni for pain, both acute and chronic. Many times parts of noni plant and fruit were applied topically to injured areas of the body. Modern science has shown that some of noni's pain relief agents include terpenes, found in essential oils, which are known to aid in cell synthesis and cell rejuvenation. Other essential nutrients in noni that may work synergistically in pain relief are proteins, amino acids, enzymes, vitamins and minerals. In addition, I believe that noni is associated with the body's production of a very important biochemical known as serotonin, which may involve the zeronine that is believed to promote the body's ability to ward off pain. Serotonin plays a large role in the healthy function of the brain and nerves, the largest players in the pain cycle. Research has shown that serotonin, triggered by the brain, tells the nerves that first pick up pain signals to calm down. In my study, of the 5,622 people who consumed noni juice to help reduce their pain, 87% reported some successful results. Amount of noni usage. The average amount consumed by the 87% who reported pain relief was 3 ounces per day. In only 6 days all was completely repaired. Gwen Kais, a little while ago I had a terrible fall on my face. I lost over a pint of blood, cut the top of my head, had a blood bruise on my eye, my nose had a 1/4 inch deep gash across the bridge, and more cuts on my nose and my cheek. I cut my lips on 3 places on the outside and multiple places on the inside, plus I loosened 5 teeth. My eye was swollen almost shut, my nose was double in size and my mouth was triple in size, all on the left side of my face. In only 6 days all was completely repaired and back to normal except for the cuts on the inside of my mouth. However, my teeth were back strong again. I took a Q-tip and put noni juice directly on all cuts inside and out and on all bruises 3 times a day, washing my face in a splashing motion between each application. I could not touch my face, it was so bad. I also applied noni oil on top of the noni juice and of course drank extra noni juice. The pain that I experienced was lower. My mouth was so swollen and my teeth hurt so much that I couldn't eat. I practically lived on the Morinda protein drinks. My face skipped the black and blue stage and went directly to yellow before it healed. The doctor said if he had not seen it with his own eyes, he would not believe that a 60-year-old woman, or anyone for that matter, could possibly heal with no scabs and be back to normal with new skin in such a short time. He said it was truly a miracle. I was able to be in a family photo scheduled for my birthday 6 days after the accident. While the first testimonial dealt with acute pain, here is another example of someone using noni to help relieve symptoms associated with chronic pain. My feet quit hurting, Joanne Ritter. I take noni juice for the very common fibromyalgia. I have helped others with the same condition. It started back in 1984 when I had to cope with deaths in the family as well as some other problems. I was having my back worked on by a chiropractor, and when he hit the trigger in my back I literally flew up from the table. My treatment was over. Then my feet hurt so badly I could hardly walk. Another doctor worked them out so I could enjoy a trip to Hawaii. I still didn't know until years later why I felt so bad. I would sleep all night and then wake up exhausted. I ached all over like a toothache and popped Advil because I don't take pain easily. All the symptoms matched for fibromyalgia. I took a job where I wouldn't be on my feet all day at an allergy relief products store. My boss started distributing noni products. I had never heard of noni, and if someone else had offered me the product I probably would have refused. I was curious about what he was so excited about. My boss said that I would sleep better and have more energy. I didn't notice too much difference until after 2 bottles. I noticed all my pain was gone and my feet quit hurting. I woke up feeling good. What a difference. My husband thought it was snake oil. He tried noni, and after 10 days all the pain from the arthritis in his knees was about gone. He didn't tell me until 12 days later when we had some company from Canada for dinner. He said to them, "I didn't tell Joanne this, but my knees quit hurting 2 days ago." I was surprised. I got rid of the fibromyalgia symptoms on 1 ounce a day of noni juice, but I take 2 ounces now because it gives me more energy. I up the dose if I get stressed out and start feeling off key. My supply went low at the end of June. I was on 1 ounce a day. My hands got incredibly stiff and painful. In July I went on a super dose for a few days before going back to my regular dose. If I had any doubts as to the effectiveness of noni, I never would have any again. Would I be willing to stay on noni the rest of my life? Of course. I certainly don't want the kind of pain I had back. My husband wouldn't be without it either. Section 11. Menstrual disorders. While usually not considered life-threatening, severe menstrual disorders can disrupt a woman's life to the point of significant dysfunction. There are many different types of menstrual disorders. In this section I will briefly cover only some of the most common. It is reported that about 3/4 of all women have uncomfortable physiological and psychological symptoms as they approach menstruation. This condition has been classified as PMS, or premenstrual syndrome, and can range from mild to severe. Other menstrual disorders include amenorrhea, which is the absence of menstruation, menorrhagia, or heavy bleeding, and dysmenorrhea, also known as severe menstrual cramps. Some of the physical symptoms that appear most often during menstruation may not be classified as disorders, but they can cause much discomfort. Bloating, breast tenderness, temporary weight gain, gastrointestinal distress, headaches, rashes, muscle and joint pain, fatigue, gingivitis, heart pounding, hot flashes, hypersensitivity to sounds and smells, agitation, and insomnia are a few such symptoms. The question many doctors are not fully able to answer is why some women experience severe menstrual problems while others seem relatively unaffected. Researchers believe that the bulk of menstrual disorders stem from the fluctuation in hormones and hormone levels. This is called estrogen dominance, where estrogen hormones overpower progesterone hormones. I recently co-authored a book with Rita Elkins MH and Dr. Richard Passwater called Soy Smart Health that details the estrogen and progesterone imbalance in women. Other hormones have been implicated. As one example, women who have ovarian cysts have been shown to have high amounts of androgens, or male hormones, in their systems. The hormone prolactin, when present in high quantities in women who are not pregnant or breastfeeding, can inhibit ovulation, causing amenorrhea. Either too much or too little thyroid hormone can also cause menstrual problems. If the body were able to maintain more regular hormone levels during menstruation, perhaps many of the signs and symptoms of menstruation could be diverted. This is one area in which I believe noni juice may play an important role. One of the earliest reported uses of noni by the ancient Kahuna healers was for women's issues. Little did they know that there is a substance in noni called bromelain, now called proxyrenine, a substance that during the 1950s was highly researched by large pharmaceutical companies as a treatment for, among other things, severe menstrual cramps. After funding no longer was available, the research was disbanded. However, much of Dr. Ralph Heineke's work about zeronine came from these original studies. In the zeronine process, proxyrenine combines with other natural nutraceuticals, such as proxyronines. This condition is believed to bolster cellular health. In my survey, of the 3,161 women who consumed noni juice to help reduce painful and uncomfortable menstrual symptoms, 80% reported successful results. Amount of noni usage. The average amount consumed by the 80 reported positive results was 2.5 ounces per day. I have no more abdominal pain or mood swings. Michelle Titus. I am a 39-year-old who has had problems with my menstrual cycle since age 12. Each month I would have nausea, diarrhea, lower back pain, burning and severe pain in my abdomen, and headaches. At age 24, I was diagnosed with endometriosis. I also had cysts on my ovaries. After a partial hysterectomy, the doctors assured me the pain and other symptoms were normal each month. 6 years later all the symptoms returned. My menstrual period has been a living nightmare until January 1999 when I met Jeanette Comsey and she introduced me to noni. Within minutes after taking my first dose, my sinus headache was gone. It was unbelievable. I have no more abdominal pain or mood swings, and my energy level has increased dramatically. I now work 6 days a week, compared to the 4 days I used to work. My dose of noni is usually 2 ounces in the morning, but occasionally I increase it to 4 ounces in the evening if I am feeling tension. I plan to take noni forever. When I talked to my physician, he said he didn't know anything about noni but to go ahead and keep taking it, if you feel better. You bet I will. Section 12. Obesity. A startling 55% of all adult Americans fall under the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute's parameters as being overweight and obese. That means that more than 97 million adult Americans are at increased risk to develop a myriad of serious health conditions that have been linked to being overweight and obese. Just a few of these conditions include hypertension, lipid disorders, type 2 diabetes, coronary heart disease, stroke, gallbladder disease, osteoarthritis, sleep apnea, respiratory problems, and even certain cancers. It is no wonder that weight has become much more than just a social issue in the United States, but it has become one of this nation's major public health challenges. Most tests for obesity are based on more than just one's weight. Tests usually include some kind of information on a person's percentage of body fat, key measurements such as a waist or arm circumference, and a body mass index (BMI). Weight, however, can be an initial indicator of overall health, and it is much easier to access than the body's fat percentage or a BMI. As seen from the previous sections, noni juice has an array of health-boosting ingredients and is reported by many to help the body function on a higher level. Many who suffer from obesity indicate that they experience extreme fatigue doing day-to-day activities, or doing any kind of exercise. However, in my survey 12,199 people out of 20,000 who drank noni juice reported an increase in energy. This increase in energy alone may help those who suffer from being overweight or obese to maintain a more active lifestyle that translates into weight loss and better fitness. However, according to the sick cell theory described in more detail in the noni phenomenon section of this book, noni may also help those with obesity by increasing levels of the natural biochemicals in the body that are associated with weight loss. Whatever the explanation is for noni's success in helping those with weight problems, my survey showed that Tahitian noni juice did indeed help many lose weight. In my survey, of the 4,599 people who drank noni juice to help with their weight problems, 72% reported that they indeed lost weight. Amount of noni usage. The average amount consumed by the 72% reported positive results was 2.5 ounces per day. My recipe for weight loss, Dan Ritchie. About 1 month ago I started drinking homemade shakes containing Tahitian noni juice, see recipe below, every 1 to 2 days. I have already lost 15 pounds. I know this doesn't sound like a lot of weight, but since I am only about 20 pounds over my ideal weight, I feel great. I can tell that noni is doing what it is supposed to do. The amazing thing to me is that other than the noni shake, I have not changed my diet at all. I still eat meat, pasta, and dare I say, junk food. I don't work out or exercise any more than I did before, but I have still lost weight. Honestly, the only thing I have changed is that I started the noni juice in the form of a shake. The shake recipe is as follows. 1 noni fiber pack. 2 scoops of the Tahiti Trim Protein Shake. 1 to 2 scoops of ice milk or low-fat ice cream. 2 ounces of Tahitian noni juice. Section 13. Kidney disease. What would your neighborhood look like if the waste disposal system, such as the weekly garbage pickup in front of your house, was cancelled for a year? Not a happy thought, right? Now just take that scenario and relate it to the body. In the body, our kidneys basically serve the function of taking out the trash. The process is done when the blood is circulated through the kidneys. The kidneys remove any waste from the blood and expel it into the urine. Not only do our kidneys remove waste, but they also extract the important nutrients from the blood and then reabsorb them into the bloodstream. When the kidneys fail to work properly, the body becomes sick as its own waste-filled blood slowly poisons its other systems. This results in lots more sick cells. The next logical question is what causes the kidneys to stop working properly? There are actually a large number of related diseases that may cause kidney and urinary tract diseases. I will mention only a few of them in this book. Urologic disease, benign prostatic hyperplasia (BPH), diabetes mellitus, types 1 and 2, high blood pressure, kidney cancer, and glomerulonephritis all are related to chronic kidney failure. According to the National Kidney Foundation, diabetes and high blood pressure account for 57% of all end-stage renal disease. 27 In end-stage renal disease, the patient must engage in a process called dialysis, which ACTS is an artificial kidney located outside of the body, or obtain a kidney transplant. Dialysis is very expensive, time-consuming, and not nearly as efficient as an actual kidney. It may serve, however, to keep the person alive until he or she can obtain a transplant or until his or her kidneys start working again. Unfortunately, surgical transplantation may also have many drawbacks. The body receiving the implant may fail to accept the new kidney, and the fact that there are not enough organs available to all who need new kidneys are just a few of the challenges with transplantation. The best method, of course, to combat kidney disease is prevention. A lifestyle for healthy people that includes drinking at least 1 quart of water a day, exercise, a healthy diet full of fiber, fruits and vegetables, and using natural supplements not only may reduce a person's weight and high blood pressure, but that sort of lifestyle reduces the chance of developing cancer and an assortment of other health conditions. The National Kidney Foundation (NKF) has published what they believe to be the 6 most important signs of kidney and urinary tract diseases. 28 I have listed them in the same order as reported by the NKF. 1. Burning or difficulty during urination. 2. More frequent urination, especially at night. 3. Passage of blood appearing in the urine. 4. Puffiness around eyes, swelling of hands and feet, especially in children. 5. Pain in small of back just below the ribs that is not aggravated by movement. 6. High blood pressure. By incorporating a natural supplement such as noni into an already healthy lifestyle, you may be augmenting your chance to stay clear of many of the diseases that lead to chronic kidney failure. In addition, much research has been done to show that noni has important constituents that boost and sustain cellular integrity. Please refer back to Dr. Mian-Ying Wang's research in Figures 1 and 2 in the cancer section that show the decrease in adduct markers, a test for cancer in the kidneys of the mice, that were given over time, a mixture containing 10% noni juice. It is good to note that in end-stage renal failure, a patient's food intake is carefully monitored since high levels of potassium can cause cardiac arrest, or the heart to stop beating. Tahitian noni juice contains 28.52 mg of potassium per ounce. This level is less than half the potassium level found in an ounce of orange juice or tomato juice, as determined by the U.S. Department of Agriculture Nutrient Data Laboratory. Further, grape, pineapple, and apple juices contain higher levels of potassium than Tahitian noni juice. The USRDA United States recommended dietary allowance for potassium is 2,000 mg per day, 70 times higher than the level found in 1 ounce of noni juice. However, if you are in end-stage renal failure and have questions as to whether the level of potassium in noni juice would be a problem, I suggest following the advice of your physician. In my survey, of the 3,134 people who consumed noni juice in order to their kidneys' health, 66% reported successful results. Amount of noni usage. The average amount consumed by the 66 reported positive results was 2 ounces per day. What a gift to mankind, Cliff Blumberg. My ordeal started with feeling terrible and running a fever of 101. My internist misdiagnosed this as the flu. I had no other symptoms that suggested the flu. I just didn't feel right. After 1 week of being away from my dental practice, I developed soreness in my groin, which prompted me to go to the emergency room of the North Shore Hospital where X-rays and a CAT scan and urine analysis revealed a kidney stone. This was confirmed the following day with IVP X-rays. While in the emergency room I was surrounded by 2 patients in severe, climbing the walls pain. They too were passing kidney stones. Both were on morphine and the pain was still excruciating. I had no pain. During this entire 2-week period from initial onset to actually passing the stone, I increased my consumption of Tahitian noni juice from my usual 3 ounces every morning to an additional 3 ounces during the day. At no time did I have the usual severe pain associated with passing of a kidney stone. Just another confirming personal experience that noni juice works. What a gift to mankind. Section 14. Skin and hair problems. The fact about our skin and hair is that your first set has to last you through your lifetime. The care that you take now with your skin and hair will make a difference on how you look as you get older. The development of gray hair, facial wrinkles, and changes in skin coloration and texture represents the aging process. And with aging comes the loss of elasticity and decreased collagen. However, according to Dr. Scott Gerson, MD, environmental factors causes many of these changes, especially unprotected exposure to sun, wind, heat, chemical preservatives, and radiation. In addition, there are many other skin problems that can affect the young, such as skin discoloration, non-cancerous growths, as well as other conditions. The good news, whether you are young or old, many skin and hair conditions are preventable and even reversible. In many cases, helping your skin is based on increasing a connective tissue component involved in skin and hair called collagen. Whether you have dry, rough skin or dry, brittle hair, there are ways to naturally build up your collagen levels and restore needed nutrients to your hair and skin. First, remember that hair is an appendage of the skin, so if something applies to the hair it also applies to the skin and vice versa. As mentioned, trauma from environmental factors is one of the major culprits of hair, scalp, and skin injury and re-injury. When used together, both internally and topically, Tahitian noni juice has multiple components that have been scientifically proven beneficial for the body's skin. Tahitian noni juice contains 3 essential polyunsaturated fatty acids, linoleic, linolenic, and arachidonic. These acids help counteract hair, scalp and skin trauma, as well as prevent dryness and maintain its integrity. Tahitian noni juice also contains glycerol, fatty acids, and butyric acids, all which also fight against excessively dry, rough skin. In addition, Tahitian noni juice contains caprylic and capric acids that combine with glycerol to produce triglycerides. These triglycerides lubricate the skin, scalp, and hair. They work in concert with the other nutrients in Tahitian noni juice to help maintain skin and hair smoothness, plumpness, and luster. In my survey, of the 813 people who used noni juice in order to enhance their skin or hair, 79% reported successful results. Amount of noni usage. The average amount used by the 79% who reported positive results with their skin and hair were 2 ounces per day. We gave him an ounce a day, Doug Alcorn, grandfather. In January 2001 it was discovered that my grandson Dylan had a polyp growing in his nose. The family doctor said he would schedule surgery for Dylan as soon as possible. In April, we discovered noni and, with still no word from the doctor, we decided to try it on Dylan. By this time the polyp had grown to completely block off his nostril and was protruding from his nose a bit. The kids at school were teasing him about it now and I could see a fight coming. He is only 9 years old, but big for his age. We gave him an ounce a day and dabbed some noni directly on the polyp at bedtime. In 10 days the polyp was completely gone. We didn't say anything to the doctor about this at the time scheduled, as we were curious to see how long it might take to have surgery scheduled. It was August before we got the call from the doctor's office saying that surgery been scheduled. That left us wondering what the polyp might have looked like by this time if we hadn't used the noni. Well, a few months later, we had our answer when we spotted a gentleman crossing the street in busy downtown traffic. His polyp was down to his chin and was as big as a golf ball. We felt let down by the medical services here, and are thankful for those who have brought noni to the world. Section 15. Other health problems: smoking, allergies, digestion and sleep. I have combined smoking, allergies, digestion, and sleep together not because they are necessarily related to each other, but because they are all quite common ailments and habits that most people already know about, and they require little explanation. Smoking is, of course, a habit that more and more people are trying to stop because of its high relation to lung disease as well as many forms of cancer. We all know someone with allergies, and we know of the respiratory difficulties that often accompany this genetic condition such as running nose, itching eyes, etc. With all of the over-the-counter drugs sold to aid in digestion, it is obvious that many people experience discomfort associated with what should be a natural process. Some of the problems associated with digestion come from the modern diets many people indulge in: fast foods, junk foods high in fat, fewer fresh fruits and vegetables, etc. Some other digestion problems can cause very serious pain and are actually genetic. The last condition addressed in this section is sleep. Stress, anxiety, hectic schedules, age, bad nutrition, deficiencies in certain vitamins and minerals can all affect one's sleep pattern. In turn, poor sleep affects the quality of our waking hours. Getting a good night's sleep is important to all. Most people feel rested after about 8 hours sleep each 24 hours. My survey revealed some interesting information about noni in each of these conditions. The results are listed below. In my survey, of the 729 people who consumed noni juice to help them stop smoking, 56% reported successful results. That is, they stopped smoking for 1 month or longer. Amount of noni usage. The average amount consumed by the 56% who reported positive results with smoking was 3 ounces per day. The majority of the noni users who stopped smoking swished 1 ounce of Tahitian noni juice around in their mouth for 5 minutes before swallowing it just before breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Of the 2,659 people who consumed noni juice to help with their allergies, 87% reported successful results. Amount of noni usage. The average amount consumed by the 87% who reported positive results with allergies was 2.5 ounces per day. Of the 2,641 people who consumed Tahitian noni juice to help with their digestion, 90% reported successful results. Amount of noni usage. The average amount consumed by the 90% who reported positive results with digestion was 2.5 ounces per day. Of the 1,687 people who consumed noni juice to help improve their sleep, 74% reported successful results. That is, they slept between 6 and 8 hours a day. Amount of noni usage. The average amount consumed by the 74% who reported positive results with sleeping was 2.5 ounces per day. I can now eat almost all foods. Drive. Rent frame, sufferer of ulcerative colitis. I am a board-certified foot and ankle surgeon, residency director, and scientific chairman of the New Mexico Podiatric Medical Association. I write this in order to introduce Morinda citrifolia as an alternative approach to chronic disease. I have suffered from gradually worsening ulcerative colitis for 6 years. Although I have never been hospitalized, my colitis always required full doses of Asacol and of periodic prednisone to control. It was a daily problem. I never had remissions of longer than a few days. My disease affected my everyday life. However, I was always very private, and even my extended family never really knew how much I suffered, although they had prayed for me, especially over the last year. My wife Cindy always knew how bad it was, and she always encouraged me to try different things to supplement my prescription medicines. Nothing has helped me very much, except for some severe diet restrictions that helped a little. I knew exactly which foods would flare my colitis. When my friends Dave and Paula Castle tried to get me to try noni juice back in January 1999, I declined, thinking they were just trying to sell me something. I was stubborn. 6 months later, in June, Cindy brought home a case of juice and said, "It's paid for. I'm going to try it, you might as well try it too." So I did. Very skeptically, I started on a loading dose of 2 ounces in the morning and 2 ounces in the evening. I still drink the same amount today. I was extremely surprised that within 3 weeks I felt dramatically better. My colitis was significantly improved within a month. No more running to the toilet 10 to 12 times a day. For the first time in 6 years I was totally regular and without any pain. I also felt more energy, a sense of well-being that are other common benefits of noni. My colitis continued to improve, and in August, I gradually decreased my prescription Asacol, and I have not needed prednisone once since starting noni juice. I have been completely off Asacol since the middle of September and can now eat almost all foods. This has been such a blessing to me I cannot describe it. Very honestly, it has been an answer to prayers. I know I will drink Tahitian noni juice forever, and I have no doubt it has given me back my health. This is not the placebo effect or the natural course of my disease. To deny my improvement from Tahitian noni juice, or to downplay it, would mean I was ungrateful. That is how strongly I feel about it. I was humbled when this happened, because I had to swallow my pride and admit a natural product did much more than any traditional treatment had done. I felt I had to do some homework to find out how noni worked. I had very little training in medical school regarding alternative or natural remedies. I read everything I could, including all the original studies, and spent a week at the International Morinda Convention in August. I attended all the medical panels at that seminar, listening to the many doctors and specialists talk about how they have seen noni change the health of thousands of patients, and how they have incorporated it into their practices. After that experience, I felt very comfortable recommending Tahitian noni juice to my family, friends, and patients. At the same time, my wife Cindy was starting to be impressed with the business opportunity. When we realized that my experience was not a fluke, and that many people were having the same results with many different health problems, we knew that noni is going to be something major, something that was going to literally fill the earth with or without us. I feel very lucky to have stumbled across something that has given me back my health and that will most undoubtedly be a great opportunity for wealth as well. Section 16. Health Enhancers. Mental acuity, well-being, muscle building, and sexual enhancement. Due to its cellular enhancing abilities, noni juice is not only helpful to those who suffer from illnesses, but people in already good health have also reaped its benefits. Some of these health-enhancing benefits I tracked in my survey were mental acuity, overall well-being, increased muscle, and sexual enhancement. The following shows the results from my survey of over 20,000 individuals gathered with the help from over 200 different health professionals. In my survey, of the 4,615 people who consumed noni juice to help with mental acuity, 73% reported successful results. Amount of noni usage. The average amount consumed by the 73 reported positive results with mental acuity was 2 ounces per day. Of the 6,564 people who consumed noni juice to help with their overall well-being, 80% reported successful results. Amount of noni usage. The average amount consumed by the 80 reported positive results with overall well-being was 2 ounces per day. Of the 1,006 people who consumed noni juice to help increase muscle, 69% reported successful results. Amount of noni usage. The average amount consumed by the 69 reported positive results with increased muscle was 2 ounces per day. Of the 2,484 people who consumed noni juice to help improve sexual enhancement, 83% reported successful results. Amount of noni usage. The average amount consumed by the 83 reported positive results with sexual enhancement was 2 ounces per day. Additional testimonials. The following testimonials didn't seem to fit into any of the sections I covered in this book. However, I wanted to include them for I feel they are strong statements as to the positive effects noni juice may bring to your life and the life of others. The first is about a concerned mother and her child who, because of a condition called neurofibromatosis, was destined by conventional medicine to live with attention deficit disorder and possible mental retardation. All his grades started to improve, Sherry and Zachary Lips. In September of 1998, my 8-year-old son, Zachary, was diagnosed with neurofibromatosis. This disease causes tumors to grow in the nerves and bones throughout his body. Most of this occurs when he hits puberty. We had to see a specialist that was 500 miles away. He told us that with this disease we needed to watch for attention deficit disorder. We were to have a conference with his teachers. They were the important link to watching for changes in his schoolwork, concentration and overall behavior where ADD or ADHD symptoms might start showing up. We were warned that this could also change drastically to fall into mental retardation. In November of 1998, my girlfriend, Christy Knorr, who knew about his condition, introduced me to Tahitian noni juice. A life-changing experience was about to happen. I started giving Zachary 1 ounce of juice every morning. I also started drinking the juice to support him. I noticed changes in me immediately. I have suffered from migraines for 20 years, a migraine every week to 2 weeks. Because I was drinking noni, the migraines went away. I was so excited. When Zachary got his second quarter report card from school, all his grades started to improve. His C grades turned into B grades, and his B grades turned into A grades. He also moved to the top reading group in his class. I couldn't believe it. His concentration at homework time was unbelievable. We didn't argue every day like we always did in the past. He'd sit down every day, without complaining, and do his homework. This was a very big improvement for us, very different from the constant arguing for 2 hours each day. We just got his fourth quarter report card. Zachary received only 1 B and the rest were A grades. I couldn't believe it. We were so proud of him. The only thing that we were doing differently was drinking noni juice. We love this juice. It has changed our lives and has given us a positive outlook on Zachary's future. They have not come up with a cure for this disease yet, but we have found hope through noni juice that Zachary can live with this disease without any major problems. Thank you noni juice for changing our lives. This next testimonial is a powerful story from a woman whose body literally felt like it was wasting away until she started drinking noni juice. I felt better on noni than I did for 7 years on the medical roller coaster. Anne Moran. Medical problems began for me several years ago with a cat bite. Little did I dream that my difficulties would multiply until I was completely bedridden, unable to function normally. To make a long story short, the cat bite led to feline infectious anemia virus rickettsia. My health went from bad to worse. Then in 1992 I slipped and fell, injuring my left knee and lower back. I have a bulging disc, and suffered frequently from sciatica. The following year, 1993, I had surgery, patella tendon transfer, and a pin was placed in my left knee. However, while in the recovery room my blood pressure dropped and I was in cardiac arrest. What should have been an outpatient surgery led to a 2-week hospital stay. After the surgery my liver function was abnormal. I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome. In 1994 came a diagnosis of Hodgkin's disease. After much chemotherapy and radiation I developed an infection in my saliva glands that were removed. I had difficulty tolerating vitamin C until I finally became allergic to it. My gums began to recede and I lost 50% of the bone in my gums. I couldn't produce saliva to wash or away the plaque. My chronic fatigue accelerated rapidly. I had sinusitis, chemical sensitivity, night blindness, insomnia, dyslexia, short-term memory loss, anxiety attacks, difficulty summoning vocabulary, anemia, hypoglycemia, and attention deficit disorder. At times I had an IQ of 280, at other times borderline mental retardation with an IQ of 85. By April of 1996 I tested positive for Epstein-Barr, lupus, Rocky Mountain spotted fever, and Candida albicans. My speech was slurred and I had active histoplasmosis. I was combining the many prescription drugs I was prescribed with handfuls of vitamins. My health insurance carrier finally dropped me. My husband had also left and I had exhausted all of my savings. When a friend told me about Noni I said it was a waste of time. I was ready to die, but I couldn't commit suicide. After another person made a 140-mile round trip to deliver the juice I decided to give it a try. I drank 2 ounces of the juice. To amazement, within 15 minutes I had a nasal drip and the right side of my sinuses become unblocked. By the 3rd day I was passing intestinal parasites, which tested out to be hook and fluke worms. By day number 5 I had an abundance of energy, no joint pain and had lost some of my bloated look. After 2 more weeks on Noni I made an appointment to have blood work done. My doctor felt that there must be some mistake and had me take the tests again. The results were the same: negative Epstein-Barr, negative HH6, negative Candida albicans, and borderline lupus. I still had Hodgkin's disease. I decided to increase my Noni usage to 4 ounces 3 times a day, drinking 12 ounces a day. Today I'm Hodgkin's free. I weigh a healthy 130 pounds. I have a properly functioning immune system, and I am no longer anemic. I have had better results in a few months with Noni than in 7 years on the medical roller coaster. I urge everyone I meet to try Noni Juice. Question and answer section. The following questions and answers are to serve as a quick reference to those looking for more information about Noni Juice and my involvement with it. Q. In your travels researching Tahitian NONT juice worldwide, what scientist made the greatest contribution to understanding how Noni Juice works? Dr. Ralph Heinecke, who theorized and worked out the zeronin system. Q. Are the 28 health conditions you discuss in this book the only documented conditions that Noni has been reported to help? Number. There are more studies and research that I have not been able to include in this book because of space limitations. I have many more testimonials from people concerning ailments that I have not mentioned in this book. Since Noni has been used for many centuries in Polynesia as a natural healer, there are many unscientific, reported uses for all parts of the Morinda citrifolia plant that may still be researched by other scientists. Q. Is Noni safe for virtually everyone to use? Noni juice comes from a natural food that has been reported to be safe. It has been used by thousands of people worldwide for thousands of years. I have not seen any documented substantiated negative reports of using Noni for even pregnant and lactating women, children, and the elderly. A few people have reported allergies, hypersensitivities, and other minor problems. As repeated earlier, check first with your health professional. For those people who must carefully watch their potassium intake, Tahitian noni juice has less than half the potassium level found in 1 ounce of orange juice or tomato juice, as documented by the U.S. Department of Agriculture Nutrient Data Laboratory. Further, grape, pineapple, and apple juices contain higher levels of potassium than Tahitian noni juice. The USRDA United States recommended dietary allowance for potassium is 2,000 mg per day, 70 times higher than the level found in 1 ounce of noni juice. However, if you are in end-stage renal failure and have questions as to whether the level of potassium in noni juice would be a problem, I suggest that you seek the advice of your physician. Q. How does noni help with so many different health conditions? This answer to this question is a complex one that cannot be fully covered in this short of a space. For those interested in a more detailed explanation of noni's wide-ranging health benefits, I refer you to my book, The Noni Phenomenon. 30. It has been postulated by some that noni contains specific adaptogens, which appear to fight disease at a cellular level. It has been further postulated that noni may help sick cells through the zeronin system. Research has indicated that important natural biochemicals found within noni may be distributed throughout the body by using a postal code type system orchestrated by the body's Golgi apparatus and the reticuloendothelium. Q. Are there any side effects from taking noni juice? A. For nearly all people who drink noni juice, even in extremely large quantities, they experience few, if any, side effects. Less than 1% of people are allergic to noni juice. These people may experience a rash, itching, diarrhea, and very occasionally trouble with breathing. Within 24 hours after discontinuing noni, most allergic side effects disappear. Non-allergic side effects are experienced by less than 2% of those who drink noni. These people may have slight belching, mild diarrhea, gas, or nausea. These side effects usually decrease or stop within 24 hours after the serving size of noni juice is stopped or decreased by about half of the original amount. Q. How much noni should I take? The answer to that question is what sparked me to write this book. There is a general guideline found in the Suggested Noni Usage section of this book about testing, loading and therapeutic amounts of noni usage. In addition, Table 5 indicates the average amount of noni juice people took who received help with their suffering from conditions. Table 3 also contains what I call a suggested noni usage amount based on age, weight and current health status. Using these guidelines, I suggest that you monitor for yourself how much noni you need to achieve the desired effect. Q. For how long should I drink noni juice? A. I believe that question is completely up to the individual who is drinking noni juice. We all have varying needs, and therefore the length of time to take noni is as different as our needs. My survey did show that 95% of those who reported that noni helped them in some way experienced those results within 3 months of starting noni. Most people who did not obtain optimal results either consumed too little noni juice or didn't take it for a long enough time. For many people, noni is a supplement that they wish to continue drinking for maintenance and preventative purposes all their life. Results from my study showed that 69% of those who experienced positive results after drinking Tahitian noni juice said they would never stop drinking it. Q. What about the purity of noni? There are several companies that manufacture noni products. As far as I know, there is not much research about the purity of many of these different noni products. However, Tahitian noni juice has been widely researched and has been found to be very pure. It is grown and harvested in the pristine environment of Polynesia and is routinely tested for over 600 contaminants by 2 independent laboratories. Contamination has not been found in TAHITIAN NONI juice. Q. Who helped you most in appreciating noni? A. Higher power. Neil Solomon has done an intense study on Tahitian noni juice that comes from the tropical fruit Morinda citrifolia. Dr. Solomon is frequently asked questions regarding the optimal use of noni juice in connection with certain disorders and health conditions. In this booklet, Dr. Solomon gives guidance on how much Tahitian noni juice people should drink, how often they should drink it, and for what conditions. Over 600,000 noni books sold.